Hello. Anybody out there? Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3 4. Doge, what up? Always first, man. I got it. Bravo. You always with the first comment. All right, you guys ready to tackle this thing? I'll wait a second, let a few more people get in here. Why is the chat not showing up? It says hello. Two. Okay, there. Well, that's on. See the super hyped. I'm super hyped too. I'm ready for this. I've been meaning to do this for months. It never has happened. It seems like the YouTube the YouTube chat isn't linked with the Twitch chat for some reason. Okay, but we'll go ahead and we'll roll with it. But okay, so you guys know what time it is. We're gonna go over the entire hour 17-minute horseshit propaganda conspiracy out of shadows put together by a couple stuntmen and Kevin Shipp, who's a whistleblower. You know, so we'll see what we can come up with. So let me pop this on here. By the way, if you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. I got a little thing up here. I'm trying to hit 50 subscribers in one stream. That would be dope. You know, most of you guys are already here. I'm assuming you're subscribed. But if you're not, make sure you like the stream, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, let's get into it. All right, and away we go.
Why do you believe what you believe?
Let me know if you guys can hear it all right when I turn it on. Just give me like a thumbs up in the chat or something.
Because at some point in your life, you trusted the information that somebody was giving you. And that someone you trusted told you that a car was a car, a tree was a tree, a bird was a bird, the blue stuff.
I would just like to let's settle that a car is a car, a tree is a tree, and a bird is a fucking bird. That's just what they are. Yes, someone did teach me that, but there's not like there's a parallel universe where those things are. Actually, we call birds giraffes. That doesn't exist. So those things are what those things are.
Above you is the sky, and that's the way that we began to determine what we believe to be a fact. Most of the things that we believe to be a fact in our lives are told to us through our stories or the news that we hear. So my question would be, if they were...
Or through documented history, like the people that were there transcribed and wrote down at a certain point in history what happened. That's kind of how that works.
Deceiving you with the stories they tell you, would you be able to recognize that?
So we've all heard the term conspiracy theory. Personally, for me, I've never really had time to get into any of that.
Oh,
because,
I bet.
Frankly, I'm working all the time, and I don't have the time to look into Bigfoot or aliens or flat Earth or 9/11 conspiracy or the JFK assassination. It's just, it's not anything that I really have any backstory on. But the one thing that I do have a lot of backstory on, the one thing I do know a lot about is Hollywood.
When you think about the entertainment industry, what comes to mind? Movies, TV, music, right? Let's talk about this entertainment.
I've been observing you. Like,
What if this entertainment was more than just entertainment?
Now in complete control!
When you're driving home from work, what are you listening to? When you come home after a long day and turn on the TV, what do you see?
The U.S. are bracing.
I just want to say too, real quick, like the thought that subliminal messagery and that they can like control our minds through like music and movies and all that stuff. It's all horseshit. It's all been debunked. It's fake science. It's pseudoscience, as you call it. I have it's not up right now, but after I'm done, I'm gonna link. I have some stuff, some good data that the BBC didn't do it, but they reported on it. Some good research, along with a couple videos about how subliminal messaging and all that shit. It's all just pseudoscience horseshit. We gotta wave through the horseshit here for a second before we get into it.
A lot of it has actually made us who we are today.
So you don't know what's really going on.
Have you ever stopped for just a second, though, and questioned?
One thing I think is so funny about this particular conspiracy documentary is how much they use comedy actors doing bits as a way to prove that there's something bad going on. Like they use George Carlin, Jim Carrey, what's the other guy's name? The big guy from The Office. It'll come to me in a second. They use his speech. Just like all the people that they claim are evil, they're taking some of them. And Ricky Gervais, they use him. Yeah, they try to use that to be like, see, there is something going on, when it's just comedy actors doing bits.
The content. The only thing we consume more than content is air. But we actually think about the quality of the air we breathe. Maybe it's time to take a closer look at our content.
And fear. Access.
Our government's always controlled our content.
The fight for freedom.
We've just never paid attention.
Freedom of speech.
Message received.
Please occupy our community.
Work with the CIA to destabilize foreign countries.
Okay, that's I'll get to the thing that they showed on screen in a second. Before this in a second, because it comes back to it. But this is dumb, and it's not the plot of Black Panther. Nothing and no one can explain away why a movie called Black Panther made Black liberation the central evil plot and had a CIA agent as a hero. That's not the plot of Black Panther. The CIA agent is a distant secondary character, and it's about a powerful nation, Wakanda, being in secret and then coming out and exposing themselves to the world, and it has nothing to do with the CIA being the good guy. That is, the CIA is not the good guy in that story. In fact, they're almost kind of a villain because of all like the evil going on in the world. Wakanda has kept themselves secluded, and I mean, I think most Black people would agree that Black Panther showcases African Americans in a positive light, and yeah, I don't see how it's like it made Black liberation bad. It's not what the movie is about at all. I don't understand that.
This media that we're consuming,
that's just like a little
such
side thing
rate.
there, though.
We need to slow down and think about what we're consuming.
bullshit going on.
What if the people in charge didn't have our best interests in mind?
They fucking really harp on Katy Perry in this, by the way. Like, I don't know why Katy Perry is just like the mascot for the Illuminati to these people, but they really harp on her.
Now we have to ask ourselves, who's influencing our content?
Is the CIA involved in Hollywood?
Yes.
Dun dun dun. And let the bullshit begin. Yeah, poor Katy Perry.
That's good right there. It's picking up speed. Go, go, go.
You do get some cool action shots in this movie. That's about it. Like how the, you know, the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, that's a good point. She was a good Christian girl.
So for the past
Sold her
28
soul
years,
to the
I
devil.
probably had one of the coolest jobs in the world. I was a professional stunt performer. I've worked with some of the biggest stars. I've got to be Batman. I've got to be James Bond. I've won World Stunt Awards. I am in this Screen Actors Guild. I'm in the DGA. I'm in the WGA. And last year, I got into the Academy, the Oscars.
Not to nitpick here, but the Oscar is the award. It's the Academy of Motion Pictures. That's what you got into, sir. I figure you being a veteran of Hollywood, you would know this. The Oscar is the award, which you did not receive.
I worked my way up from being a stuntman, being a fight coordinator, being a stunt coordinator, second unit director. First big job I get, I'm on Batman Forever. And I'm walking around set and I'm pinching myself. I'm looking over, there's Tommy Lee Jones, there's Jim Carrey, there's Val Kilmer, there's Drew Barrymore, there's Nicole Kidman. And I'm like, how did I get here? I didn't really say I'm gonna go be a stuntman. I wanted to go make movies. But being a stuntman was the easiest way.
Let's keep that in mind too. Not only, you know, this guy went to Hollywood and he wanted to become a film director, but instead he became a disgruntled stuntman. So it's not like he has any grudges against Hollywood or anything.
For me to get into the business. I didn't want to be an actor because like, pretending to be a character. Well, being a stuntman, I was that character. I was the guy behind the illusion, creating it for the guy who's on the screen. I jumped out of that helicopter. I was in that fireball. I did whatever was being asked of the job. I've had an amazing career, and I've had an amazing life. But in the system that exists today, as I get up the ladder, I realize it's not what people think it is.
Yeah, no, he was definitely a
It's an
stuntman.
illusion.
He's in the
It
business.
is a complete illusion.
Him and that other guy, they both have movie credits. But that's, you know, just stuntmen, not like as actors or directors. I mean,
In
I guess they
2014,
directed
I
this,
was
but
working on a television show up in Portland, and I had a catastrophic injury.
takes
I've
about
done this
15 minutes to get
probably
into the
various
actual
20 times
conspiracy
already.
stuff.
It was nothing.
He does have a
Small
nasty
down
fall
to the
here. I do feel
stairwell.
bad for him about
I did
that.
the first take fine, the second take, I knew I could do it better. I went up and I fell over the rail and I landed on the pipe down below and I burst fractured my L2 vertebrae and I was paralyzed.
That's a nasty fall.
When you are injured, when you are catastrophically injured and it changes who you are, I knew from that day I would never be the athlete that I once was. And I always told people as a stuntman, the worst possible injury you can get is a lower back injury. You can break your legs, your arms, whatever. But if you injure your lower back or your hips, your pelvic region, you're done. There was 2 years that I didn't.
All right, keep that in mind. He was injured in 2014. For 2 years, he lived in pain before he went to this pelvic floor therapist.
think I would ever live without pain. One of the issues I was dealing with at that time was I had lost the feeling, and I still have numbness in my thighs and on this half of my pelvic region. I was going to physical therapy, and the lady looks at me and she goes, "This isn't really helping you. You're way more advanced than this stuff." And I go, "Yeah, I do this every morning." She goes, "Well, what's the real issue?" I said, "The real issue is my pelvic region." And so she said, "Okay, well, there's a woman who works here, and she is a pelvic floor therapist."
So,
all right, this is where we get into it, and you know, this is the only time you hear from this lady, and you don't see her at all. You only see the other two guys and Kevin's ship. But this lady makes some wild accusations, and then she is gone for the rest of the film. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Mike, I met him. His spine was broken, and he had partial paralyzation of his pelvic floor area. We help people when they have problems with the most important functions in your life: bowel, bladder, and sexual function.
So one day we're in the middle of therapy, and she stops me and she says, "Mike, I feel like you have really dark spirits over you."
This is basically just Christian propaganda.
And I was like, "Pray for me." Yeah, sure, pray for me. I don't really believe in that stuff anymore, but yeah, go ahead, pray for me. So she prays for me. And I was kind of thinking while she's doing it, okay, this is weird, but okay, whatever. So for the next 2 or 3 months, I would go, and then every now and then she would stop me and she'd say, "Hey, can I pray over you?"
I was kind of a little bit disgusted with his personality because he was all about himself and money, and I think the Lord had a lot of work to do in terms of humility with him. He made it very clear that he thought I was crazy, but he let me.
After she stopped one day, and I said, "You are either 100% batshit crazy, or you think all this is real, spirit world." And she looked at me and she said, "Michael, I am one of the only pelvic floor therapists in Southern California at the time."
Okay, like, just no. She was the only pelvic floor therapist in Southern California in 2016. Pelvic floor therapist in Southern California. Okay, I mean, are all these people working on cult members? I mean, and there's pages and pages of these people. Look at all that. I mean, so is that the key is to finding the cabal is to go to your local Southern California pelvic floor therapist directory? I thought that was a really just a really weird, like, oh, she was the only one at the time and she was working on the satanic cabal people and putting them back together, even though according to every QAnon person, Janet Ossibard, all these people that make these documentaries, when they have these rituals and drink their adrenochrome and all that shit, the people die. But apparently this lady can put them back together.
And when these satanic people and these evil people do their rituals to little girls and women and boys, who do you think puts them back together? I do.
Oh, what are they, fucking Humpty Dumpty? How does she put them back together? How does one drink the adrenal gland of a human being and then put them back together? Or what kind of satanic rituals are they having where they need a pelvic floor specialist to put them back together?
It's completely real.
None of this is ever explained.
My awakening, it didn't happen at...
I'm pretty sure that's it. So the lady that... So for the rest of the documentary, we get, theories and MK Ultra, different conspiracies, all kinds of shit. But the lady who has the goods, who has apparently put back together people who have been sacrificed to Satan, is never heard from again. If I, I'm not the greatest content creator, if I was making a documentary to expose the cabal, I might want to, put her a little bit more, make her more the star. Maybe knock out the Liz Crokin section and make her the star of the documentary. But we never hear from her again after she says, I put people back together who were sacrificed from Satan.
Church, the way that some people find God. I just pretty much had given up my faith, and I'd given up where I was at, and I was just kind of at the point where I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the best time I can here, and when I die, that's it.
Not a bad way to think about it.
I still wasn't sure if wasn't 100% crazy or not, but I was reading these articles and looking at these things, and I was like, I've seen things at parties. I've seen...
Okay, now, obviously, they put this imagery in front of you to make you think he has seen these things or something. First of all, that's kind of a dope picture, just to be honest, but he didn't see this anywhere. They're just showing this to you. They put this imagery in front of you to make you think, like, oh man, like, you know, he's talking about seeing it, and then bam, they put it in front of you, and it's like, oh, well, is that what he saw? Like, he didn't see any of it. This is just fucking propaganda B-roll, basically.
Artwork. I've seen statues. I've seen.
And of course, they show you the Baphomet statue.
Some people's houses that just.
Which that's from the Church of Satan. I think they made that especially. That's the one they used to troll people and put up at you know, like government buildings if they try to put up, like, you know, the 10 Commandments or something. So that statue he just showed was made specifically to troll with the two little kids.
Seem to be mimicking occult.
And of course, we're gonna get into Anton LaVey and all that.
I'm just gonna say this. I didn't find God because I went to church. I found God because I realized the Luciferian and the other side, the occult world, was real, and that I had been fooled for all these years, and I then got really scared.
Now let's think about this. This guy worked in Hollywood for 20 some odd years, made a career. His first big project was, I think that was Batman Forever. That movie came out when I was little. It was like 1997. So he's been established Hollywood stunt coordinator, or whatever you want to call it, for 20 some years. He goes that entire time, never notices anything occultish, never has any run-ins with the cabal. Then he injures his back, and while he, you know, is probably all hopped up on pain medication, which I'm sure with the kind of injury he had, he got. So he's all hopped up on pain medication, and then he gets on the internet and then talks to a pelvic floor therapist, and then he gets worried about his entire surroundings. Like, don't you think that's a little bit off? Like, don't you think that is just maybe you being paranoid as opposed to actually finding any evidence, being like, well, you know, maybe Bill, you know, he did look at me funny one time back in 98. Like, what, that logic is completely backwards. You went your entire career, never had an issue. Then once you remove yourself and start going down the rabbit hole on the computer, then you find the occult.
I got really scared because this was the first time in my life that I was having to question my own reality. Physically, I was crushed. I wasn't going to be who I was.
I mean, this is basically prototypical what people that fall into QAnon and stuff like that. Somebody who's down on their luck, more time on their hands, depressed. I mean, he's talking, I was crushed. He relied on his body for his job, and now he's fucked. So what he's done his entire life, he can no longer do. And then he pops into this conspiracy shit. That's the case study QAnon rabbit hole finder person. I don't have a specific name for it, I guess.
Spiritually, I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't know anything about being a Christian. I mean, really.
Me neither, bro.
Professionally, everything that I knew about my career, I was starting to look at in a different way. I was starting to question my career in Hollywood from a different perspective.
Hold on one sec. I'm gonna take the chat off the screen. It's not working. I don't know if I didn't sync it right with YouTube or something. But all you guys are on YouTube anyway. So I'm gonna take the restream chat off the thing.
Perspective. So I got off of social media and I made an anonymous account. I started reading blogs, looking at articles. I started reading books. I started watching videos online. I just started searching for the truth, and I was finding accounts that were searching for the truth themselves. They weren't mainstream accounts. These were accounts online that I felt like were like me. They were just looking for what the truth was.
I didn't believe I was getting the truth from CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I didn't believe any of it. I just wanted to read it, absorb it, and digest it. And
What does that even mean? What, I wanted to read it, digest it, absorb it, drink it for dinner. I don't. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that looks good. I think I like that better. I'm gonna get the that looks a little better.
trust what my gut told me I was reading. As I did my research, I began to understand there's a very small accounts online that I felt like were like me. They were.
I missed the part I wanted to go over. I was fucking with the thing.
I didn't believe I was getting the truth from CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I didn't believe any of it. I just wanted to read it, absorb it, and digest it, and trust what my gut told me I was reading.
Yeah, this is all. Yeah, just nonsense conspiracy. Yeah. Never mind, that's the wrong part.
There's a very small group of people that influence all the companies that we watch. So they used to call them the Big Six, but Disney just bought Fox, and Disney.
Now again, this is where they take the grains of truth and then paint the broader picture with it. Because yes, it is true that our media, our establishment media, is controlled by the establishment. Like there is, basically 6 or 7 companies that control most of the, establishment media. But at the time we are at now, it is easier to find alternative news sources than it ever has been before. I mean, I get a lot of my news from YouTube. There's good sources on there. Of course, you have to double and triple check. You can't just look at Facebook all the time. But our biggest issue as far as propaganda being pushed out is not, the 6 or 7 media companies. It's social media for the most part. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Twitter. That's where the most propaganda comes from. But you can definitely find alternative sources. And the people that are in charge, the reason for this horse shit, are most, not just Republicans, but definitely more the side that they favor. The Republicans are the ones that allow all these monopolies, allow all these corporate mergers that make it to where we only have 6 or 7 media companies. So that's why you shouldn't vote for those people. But those are the exact people you're propping up. These, conservative Christians that are all pro-business bullshit. Like, we need to regulate these people, break up these big companies so we have more, competition in media. But there's definitely plenty of alternative media sources, more now than ever. And why hasn't the occult taken over if they have all the media on lock and all of that stuff actually works? It's not logical.
Disney controls Marvel and Disney owns Lucas Studios. So look at that giant audience right here. Say a small group of people control the narratives and the content that we all see on all the channels. It makes you feel like, oh, I have lots of choices, but you don't. Who's?
I was gonna say this guy sounds like a rambling, just pilled out person, just the regular, yeah, bro, you think you have choices. He sounds like Tommy Chong. You think you have choices, man? You don't. You don't have choices, bro. They got you fooled, bro. They got you by the balls, man. You don't even know it, bro. I got some stuff you should read. That's what he sounds like.
Who's telling them what to put on those channels? Where does that lead?
Tonight, the FBI is on the case, and they are warning big companies in America to protect their data after a big Hollywood studio got hit by hackers and several blockbuster movies.
Oh yeah, they really blow this out of proportion.
This is the first time the United States has accused a foreign government of a cyber attack against an American corporation.
And this interested me because I worked over at Sony quite a bit during my career, and I actually had to get LifeLock during the Sony hack. So I was curious. I was like, what was this really about? Well, the narrative put out in the public was Seth Rogen and James Franco made a movie about North Korea. And so they were mad, and so they decided to hack Sony to teach them a lesson. That was a public narrative that went out, and that's what I was like, well, that makes sense. You know, I know Seth and I know James, and they're...
Notice the name drop there. Oh yeah, well that makes sense because I know the two actors that were in the movie, so yeah, it made sense to me. Like, what does that have anything to do with? You're just totally name dropping there. Like, that has nothing to do with the Sony hack. But let's break it down a little bit. So the first official narrative was that was the reason. Basically, North Korea hacked Sony because they were mad about this movie, and it did get a little bit of pushback from some hacktivists, you know, hacker activists, and it did get some like a few people thought it might have been something else, but 10 different data firms got together, independent, and looked into it, and they found that there was absolutely no way it could be anything else. It definitely came from North Korea, most likely with the help of China, possibly Russia. Like, it was a very strategic, well-oiled attack. It was very well thought out. It most likely, what they think is it was North Korean hackers, and it took place in China because they have a better infrastructure internet-wise. But there's really not an alternate narrative. Some people thought for a while it might have been some disgruntled Sony employees, but it's definitely not what they're about to claim it is. And then we'll get back into it in a second.
They're definitely pushed the envelope of comedy, and their sense of humor is definitely their own. And I thought to myself, okay, that makes sense.
And now private emails are going public.
It's a public relations disaster.
But what I found really interesting...
And again, like, the public relations disaster was all the snotty comments back and forth. Like, one guy, one executive at CBS talked about how Angelina Jolie was terrible to work with, and she was a no-talent actor. Like, that was the public relations nightmare, so I don't even know why they would include that. I guess just because it sounds nefarious. But, you know, a lot of celebrities and Hollywood people were involved in these emails, and it got out, and, you know, they got all the snarky comments and everything that, you know, happened when basically behind closed doors in a lot of these, you know, on, you know, internet exchanges, email exchanges, I should say.
Interesting as I examined the WikiLeaks documents.
Yeah.
Was it showed that the heads of one of our biggest movie studios in America was in direct...
This doesn't even say anything. Like, he puts this on screen. Sony Pictures investigates North Korean attack, link in hack attack. Sony Entertainment is exploring the possibility that hackers working on behalf of North Korea, perhaps operating out of China, may be behind a devastating attack that brought the studio's network to a screeching halt earlier this week. Sources familiar with the matter tell. Recode. That's basically that's what happened. So this is exactly the narrative that was pushed. I don't know why they would put this on screen. It totally goes against but something nefarious was going on.
Communication with very important people in our...
This says basically the same. Several U.S. law enforcement agencies are investigating whether it's the same thing. Hacking pictures online that were illegally disseminated of at least 5 of the company's... Yeah, it's just, you know, it's talking about government. Network shit.
Didn't surprise me. I was like, okay, well, either they're friends or there's something more to it. So I never really thought about the government...
So, okay, they show these names. Okay, it's like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, all that shit. Louise Dreyfus, Aaron Gordon, whoever the fuck that... Oh, Aaron Sorkin. So they show that.
It's in our content or our stories.
And then they show this. This is an email. So they try to make it look like those two emails are from the same thing. But here's the email. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. It's these two guys. This is the email. Michael Linton and Jamie Ehrlich. It's about a guy that they were trying to hire, and he used to work for the CIA. It's all. Joe W. Where does it start? Are you 100% positive he's not still with the CIA? Joe responds, I have no idea whether he is or isn't. He went 20 plus years without any of his close friends or family knowing what he was doing. So for all I know, he could still be doing it. Still a nice guy. Kind of like a half-ass, haha, funny, like, I mean, I don't know, man. It's not, and I think that was it. Just how, okay, well, this is actually where it started. Just had a great meeting with Joe. Thanks for setting it up. We'll give you details when we get back. I'll put more in the description if you guys want to read more into this, but basically, these guys are executives at Sony, and this guy was interviewing for a job. You know, there's people that have worked in the CIA and FBI or other jobs that go to Hollywood. I don't see the big scary thing about this. Like, this is it. That's it. That's all they have.
Could they be influencing our story and our content?
See, it's the exact same email.
Dude, these were real questions that I never had asked myself. I just did the jobs. I went to work. I did my job. I did whatever was asked. And went home. Never thought.
Yeah, he did
about
work
this.
for the CIA. Yes.
So I was like, I don't really know anybody that can answer these questions. And I reached out to this guy.
This
who I'd
guy.
been watching online. His name was Kevin Ship.
I just want to say these two have had a serious falling out since this. I'll read you the statement. So, let me get a drink of water here. Basically, Kevin Ship, the guy they just put on screen, called Q a psyop. And this is Michael, the guy that's been talking. This is his Twitter account, and this is his response to Michael calling it a psyop. Kevin, all I have to say is I strongly disagree with your analysis. I fact-check everything in Out of Shadows, and I have studied Q for almost 2.5 years. See, in Out of Shadows, they don't directly say that they're into Q. They dance around it, but he's fully Q-pilled. He's all the way in. Studied Q for almost 2.5 years. Q is not a new age psyop. Technically, it might be by definition a psyop. But Q is a psyop that promotes people to research and think for themselves and supports the most high god that appointed DJT to expose the deep state. I believe if you actually took the time to research Q the way I have and discern over the information, you'd find that whatever information you're getting is not even close to accurate. This is actually why people are jumping on you all over you online. The real Anons know what you're stating about Q is completely false. Like, my fucking microphone's in the way. Not accurate. Of course, in any movement, you get your crazy. Honestly, I just hope you're making. Basically, just goes on to say it's just more. You're crazy. Q is not a psyop, and he just tells him to read the Q drops. So, like the main guy in this thing, his CIA whistleblower, he's completely turned his back on, and so have his people. And it's like, here's their reasoning. I know you know about Q, but have you? Oh, okay, that's not the thing. Oh. Is it just me, or is Kevin's new profile picture a little odd? And it's just shit like that. They start shitting on him for, the dumbest things. His profile picture apparently means he's sided with the cabal now.
And for those of you who don't know who Kevin Ship is, he's a CIA whistleblower. He worked in counterintelligence, and he served in many capacities in his tenure at the CIA.
Yeah, you want to know what Kevin Ship's longest tenured job at the CIA was? He was what do you call him? Lie detector? Basically, he was a lie detector test operator. Polygraph. He was a polygraph test. That's what he did. He conducted polygraph tests. That was his job at the CIA. He wasn't like some super spy man. That was his biggest job. Like he did other things a little bit. He kind of bounced around. He was a journeyman CIA guy. And now he's a batshit conspiracy theorist.
is The Big Picture, an official television report to the nation from the United States Army.
It was an OSS memo, the precursor to the CIA, where they were doing a study of the use of motion pictures in America as a means of psychological warfare. So it goes all the way back to pre-1947, when U.S. intelligence was using motion pictures to alter the thinking of Americans in the United States.
Okay, what this is this is a memo, and I'll have it linked down in the comments. What it is this was during World War II, and a group, I believe it was called the Motion Picture Alliance, they put together basically a statement saying how they needed to use movies, or movies could be used to fight against communism. Like, this is like some ultra-conservative, right-wing, hey, we can use movies, we can use American movies to preach American exceptionalism, to fight communism overseas. We'll take some of our movies and we'll show them in other countries, and we'll ban showing any like German movies that are propping up Hitler or anything like that. That's what this was. It wasn't, they weren't using movies as propaganda in America. They were trying to combat against communism in a really stupid way. Like, this whole thing is dumb. It was the 40s. We didn't know shit back then, not like we do now. And we were in the middle of a fucking war. They were doing anything they could. I mean, you could argue, yeah, it's kind of bad, maybe, but we were in the middle of a war, and it was conservatives, you know, trying to fight, you know, the dirty communists. Everything back then was to fight against communism. Even the chess guy, what's his name? Not Gary Kasparov, but the other one. They wanted him to go over and beat the Russians because communism. That's all this is. It's nothing, not a big deal at all.
The laughter, music, and general entertainment which comes out of a single small package like this one have helped to
build morale. They can be aimed at the civilian and armed forces of the United States to inform and instruct and create attitudes and stimulate action to build morale. Such a scary sentence. Yeah, well, maybe you could use them to build morale with the boys in the 40s. I guess. I don't see how this is mind control.
that morale.
The CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movies, and the population believes it.
Texas. Very Axis.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. And I guess Walt Disney was on the board, and that's really scary.
This document right here.
Like, these people have a Wikipedia page. This isn't like an unknown thing. Like, people know about this.
It's a FOIA document. Anybody in America, anybody can request this. It's Freedom of Information Act. And in the 40s, they were telling you they controlled the radio stations. They controlled most of the mainstream media. They're telling you right here that motion pictures are used as psychological warfare. Why would they stop doing it?
And no time.
First, today, we're much more aware of our media, and if you were going to do something like that, you'd do it through social media. You wouldn't do it through the movies. And again, this was to fight communism. It was to fight against Nazis and to try to push out, you know, America is good to other countries.
As the CIA engaged in any political activity or any intelligence activity that was not approved at the highest level.
Alan Dulles groomed and recruited Ian Fleming, and Dulles and the CIA actually helped Fleming write his books and paint the CIA in a favorable light.
Yeah, that's just total horseshit. Ian Fleming was in the British, whatever you call it. He was a naval officer. Basically, his backstory is the inspiration of James Bond. You know, James Bond's character was a former naval officer who worked in British intel. You know, obviously it's sensationalized to the max, but that's Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming was a naval officer, and he worked in British intel, and then he wrote the books. And obviously, he portrayed himself in a positive light, and, you know, it probably does, it's a little, you know, propagandy towards, you know, MI6 and all that, and making them look like the good guys. That's kind of the whole point, but it's not, he wasn't recruited by our CIA to write these books. Like, he wrote them based off pumping himself up, and that's it.
And they also, Dulles helped produce Thunderball to make the CIA and agents look like honorable.
I could find no evidence for that. I can't say for a fact if that's true, but I couldn't find that anywhere.
You know, cool people. The CIA actually helped him write the books and write the script for that movie. And then the president of MPAA was actually providing intelligence to the CIA as an operative in that position in Hollywood.
Mr. Fleming, in your books there's...
Also, we still got to go a long way to adrenochrome and cabals.
A great amount of detail. Is this detail based on personal experience? Do you make it up? Where does it come from?
Well, I can say it's 90% from personal experience, really.
Yeah, because he worked in intelligence, and he was a it's him pumped up. That's all it is.
Of course, if I started...
Yeah, I bet you that's from personal experience. I bet you that fucking happened a lot, and you know, in his time as a British agent. It's a fictional character. I don't understand what the big deal is.
Too close to the true espionage work of today, I should be in trouble with the Official Secrets Act in England, even supposing I had access to information.
Yes, the CIA did a lot of bad things. Okay, this quote, so many times I've seen this. It's horse shit. As far as I know, there's no proof he ever said this. Only thing I could find is it possibly came from one writer who might have said he said it, or I think she quoted him as saying this, but that's it. It's not like a known quote. It's not written down. It's not set in stone that he said this. It's like a hearsay thing. Basically, one person says he said it, and that's it. And it's not, you know, there's no video of him or phone call or, you know, interview, anything like that. No documents that say he said it. Like, one person thinks he said it, and we don't know the context of the conversation or anything that was going on around it. But people have used this for years to be like, oh, the CIA is after us. And it doesn't even really make much sense. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. So we had everything? What if it's 90%? I'm just saying, like, I feel like that would be success. So up is down and left is right. I mean, I don't understand. Like, this is just a dumb quote that somebody made up. It's like a fucking supervillain thing.
There's no question about the fact that Mockingbird is real. It started out paying journalists in major media, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, to print fake stories that the CIA wanted in the press and fake interviews. And this was revealed in the Church Committee.
Do you have any...
Church was a Democrat, by the way. Frank Church. But yeah, Mockingbird was real. This is true. But like everything else, they get overblown. What they do here is they put a couple, 3, 4 actual conspiracies in front of you, because the CIA did a lot of horrible shit, especially in the 50s and 60s. under Nixon, and that's when all this stuff happened. This Church Committee, there was the Pike Committee, the Rockefeller Committee. They basically they called this the Year of Intelligence. You know, they basically did a full-on audit of all the intelligence agencies, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, which isn't an intelligence agency, but basically all government agencies to make sure everything was up and up after Nixon. You know, after Nixon, abused his power. Something tells me we might need another one of those after this last 4 years. But, after that, they did all these committees and everything. But Operation Mockingbird was basically the CIA used some journalists, I think it was around 50 in the United States. About 25 were accredited, and 400 correspondents overseas. And it was mostly to print propaganda about other nations, South American nations, propaganda pieces. They used their connections. For the most part, they weren't like planting stories in the New York Times. And it wasn't on a big scale over here in this country. It was mainly overseas. It was horse shit that America has done forever. That's part, if you start studying history, you find out that America is the bad guy in a lot of situations. And we're usually doing it to other people more than ourselves. But that's basically what Operation Mockingbird is. But the thing is, Carl Bernstein, a great journalist, he uncovered it. It wasn't found out in the Church Committee. Carl Bernstein was the first one to publicly report it. And this is the article he wrote. This came out in the 70s, but all this 25,000 word document is all about Operation Mockingbird. He broke the story. He reported on it. But now, if you were to ask somebody who's pilled on QAnon about Carl Bernstein, they would say he's a deep state shill, when he's literally the guy that uncovered Operation Mockingbird. So, I'll have this, if you want to read it, I'll have this down in the description after we're done. But, I mean, it's a good piece, and it's interesting. It goes over a lot of the propaganda that they pushed in South America. And it's, and a lot of these journalists, they didn't actually pay them. They, intimidated them and bullied them into writing this stuff. It's kind of interesting. I'll go ahead and take that off.
Being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal. We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
And of course, then the CIA destroyed the rest of the files, which is what they do. George H.W. Bush came out and finally made the statement about Mockingbird. Well, we're going to officially stop the Mockingbird program. The CIA will no longer pay journalists to write stories. From now on, the program is voluntary, which means Mockingbird continues today.
That's not what he said. That's not what George Bush said. What he said is that that we're no longer going to use accredited journalists to, like, the way he worded it, opened up the ability for conspiracy people to think it's still going on. Because what he said is we're no longer going to use accredited journalists for this program. And it's like, well, what about unaccredited? Like, he didn't say, like, oh, we're just going to make it voluntary. We're not going to force people to do it. That's not what he said. He said we're no longer going to use accredited journalists for this thing, this operation, whatever. So he did not say, oh, it's just voluntary now. He never said that.
When's the last time you've seen a mainstream media outlet do a serious investigative report on the actions of the CIA?
I mean, The Intercept has done a lot of good stuff. People still report on the CIA.
Reason for that.
This would mean that
that's Frank Church, the guy
the news
head of the
in
committee.
United States by channeling it through some foreign country, and we're looking at that very carefully.
You say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk.
This is where it gets
at
rich
least
right
being
here.
looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Okay, so that video they just showed, it's so funny that I don't know if you've seen it flash on the screen a couple times before that, but they use the shit out of that video in this thing. But the thing is that video is of local news stations owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, which is a super far-right Christian conservative broadcasting company, and they own, I think, 30-ish%. It might be a little less than that, but somewhere around like 20 to 30% of local news stations. And they do these segments they call must-runs. They do a terror alert desk. Basically, every week they report on terrorism. And sometimes it's not even about terrorism, it's just about Muslims. They have several super far-right figures that they make every station put them on, and it's extreme propaganda. And that right there is one of those must-run segments. They put that out. They put all this stuff out about, about Trump, and it's all pro-Trump. It's basically local level Fox News, and that's what they're showing when the people that they're in favor of are the ones that are doing that. Like, you're not going to find that with any other establishment media company, even as bad as they are. And on top of that, he talks about, the big six. We don't want this to happen. We don't want these people to get more power. Sinclair Media tried to buy Tribune Media, and the merger got blocked because they didn't want them to control 60% of local TV stations. And then when that happened, Trump got mad and tweeted about it, and he tried to push the merger through. So not only is Trump not doing anything to stop that local level propaganda, he's actively trying to make it worse because it favors him. So the people that are pushing that kind of propaganda are the ones that, as he called him, the God-chosen DJT, is trying to push through. Like, he's trying to make them more powerful and make more conglomerations the savior of this whole thing. It's just like that video right there alone just shoots this whole thing in the foot.
There is something about the way the CIA has been functioning that is casting a shadow on our historic position of freedom, and I feel we need to correct it.
Senator Moynihan proposed a bill to dismantle the CIA.
Another Democrat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduced it twice. The second time was 1995. Ironically, 1 year later in 1996, the CIA established the Entertainment Liaison Office, which was specifically penetrated into Hollywood, and Chase Brandon was actually co-wrote scripts. For example, The Recruit.
You're looking for high horsepower, high energy.
Oh yeah, you guys remember that fucking banger of 2004's The Recruit? Yeah, I bet you that really turned a lot of people into mindless zombies. Fucking The Recruit. But basically, the CIA has an entertainment liaisons office in California or Hollywood, whatever. I don't know if they know this, seeing as they're in the fucking business. But there's a lot of movies that deal with the CIA and the FBI and agents and how they act, how they talk. So the CIA gets a lot of work from Hollywood. That's why they have the office there. Whether it's, Disney, Marvel, other shows like The Americans. They helped a lot on that. Homeland, you know, and they definitely, you know, of course, like anything, Law and Order, any cop show, all this stuff, of course, they're going to portray themselves in a positive light. It's a little propaganda-esque. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but it's not some deep-seated conspiracy. People in Hollywood are going for realism. They want to make it as authentic as possible, so they hire the people that actually do the job. That's it. So they get so much work, they have an office there. Case closed.
Very competitive people who are driven by patriotism and a sense of wanting to serve a greater cause.
I'm already boycotting Trump news.
Would I have to kill anyone?
Would you like to? So the CIA was and is in Hollywood.
Make sure you guys like the stream, by the way.
Contributing to Hollywood productions and that manipulation.
The Recruit. Nothing is what it seems.
As I started to wake up, I never actually considered that the
He means fall asleep.
CIA had an office in Hollywood. And I'm like, well, I see this, I see that.
Again, how do you not know that? You work in Hollywood every day. You've been in there for 26 years. You're a fucking stuntman. I'm sure you've worked with CIA liaison. You know, I'm sure you've worked with people that have CIA training or have been in the CIA for a movie or a role. You know, how do you not know this? This has been around for a very long time. Basically your whole career, because it was in the early 90s that they had the office there.
And I started putting feelers out, like, does anybody else see this stuff? And not many people were awake. But the one person that I reached out to was an old colleague of mine, a friend of mine named Brad Martin. And Brad and I had similar careers.
Why are the stuntmen so pilled? I don't understand. Like,
as we worked our way up through the business together. And I'm like, hey, Brad, you've seen this? You've seen that? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And so that gave me strength. That gave me like, okay, well, I'm not alone in this deal. And I'm going to keep looking.
Say this, Brad's one of the greatest stuntmen I've ever met. Probably the best.
I'm a very physically creative person. I've been doing action for movies for 26, 27 years. I excelled at the action aspect of it, at the physical aspect of doing the fights and doing the gymnastics and doing the falls and doing the driving. I trained.
I love that this movie that completely shits all over Hollywood pumps these guys up by showing a bunch of Hollywood fight scenes.
And really hard. I became one of the top stuntmen in the business. I started becoming a fight coordinator, and then a stunt coordinator, and then an action director. Very few people have ever gotten to where I've gotten to, and I'm super proud of what I did.
Super proud, bro.
I mean, I had a very idealistic view of the movie business, and I've been disillusioned a few times. It feels very
also, if you haven't subscribed,
like there's an agenda in every
maybe you do that. That'd be
I
dope.
realized that it was more of
That is a pretty cool job. I will give them that. Can we get back to this conspiracy shit though?
To put out there for the masses. I stopped really watching TV. I stopped really watching movies. And one of the reasons why I stopped watching movies is I got into my research and what's going on in the world right now, and all the corruptness and all of the.
There's that fucking there's that thing again. They love this fucking video that was put together by a left-wing outlet that totally shits on conservatives.
Plot twists of reality, and I started realizing that reality is 20 times more interesting than Hollywood.
Also, just real quick, who are they talking to? This is their documentary. Who is he like? Like who are they talking to? That's all I want to know.
I mean, I was a Hollywood buff. I loved all of those movies, but now they're meaningless because I know what's going on right now actually has purpose. It has a meaning, and there are consequences. And once this story is told on what's happening in the world right now, and all of the powers that be battling each other, it will be the greatest story ever told Like, for instance, I saw something on History Channel talking about how the CIA helped Disney buy all the swampland in Florida. Well, why on earth would they do that?
His lawyers.
Okay, so this guy's super pilled. He's been doing his research. The first thing he comes up with is, I saw on the History Channel that Disney bought all this swampland, which is true. I think Disney had some contacts inside the CIA, is basically how the story goes, and he bought up all this land. He kind of created like his own government. Basically, like, Disney owns, like, I don't know if it's still that way, but it was for a while. I'm pretty sure it still is. But basically, Disney is like their own, like, they made like their own government inside of like Disney World and all that. It's like their own shit. Like they run it, control it, all that. It's something like that exactly, but it's not anything too, like, he basically had some buddies help him out with some land, and you know, it's a tad shady. It's definitely on the shady side. Walt Disney was a shady dude, but we're far from like mind control cults or anything like that. So I don't understand what the point of this part is.
In charge of purchasing the parcels had served in military intelligence during World War II and knew how to keep a secret. They used several different companies, none with Disney's name, to acquire the properties.
Now I go down this rabbit hole of what does the CIA have to do with Hollywood, or at least with Disney? Washington, D.C. is definitely in Hollywood. I have seen documents of
they just throw random shit on the screen.
The CIA writing to the studio heads, guiding them in certain fashion. There's a lot of things that people would talk about that are conspiracy theory, but there's some things that ring true with me. It's like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Another program developed by the CIA after World War II was called Operation Paperclip. It's been depicted in many movies, including Disney's Marvel series.
Operation Paperclip after World War II, SHIELD recruited German scientists with strategic value.
I could help their cause.
Operation Paperclip, and this is something people need to know because it has been so covered up and mocked and berated and claimed to be a conspiracy theory. By the way,
yeah, that's just not true. Operation Paperclip is a very well-known, sort of shady endeavor our government took up. You know, basically, we were either gonna kill all the Nazi scientists or let the Russians have them. And we were in the space race. We had the Cold War. They were trying to develop, I think it was V2 rockets. And we took the Nazi scientists and made some of them come work over here. In fact, the guy that created the original spacesuit was one of the Operation Paperclip guys. So several of them have won like awards from NASA. One of them developed a few things over here, but then they found out later that he had ties to human experiments, and he rescinded his citizenship here, went back to Germany. But yeah, like, Operation Paperclip is very well known. They've made several shows about it, you know, and now obviously that's a little bit twisted, you know, reality. But yeah, it was basically, we found out that the Russians were recruiting Nazi scientists. We decided to do it ourselves because of the space race and rocket technology, because we thought we might go to fucking war with them, and that's pretty much it.
The term labeling people as conspiracy theorists was invented by the CIA to deflect any attention over the JFK assassination. They invented that word as a way to shut down any scrutiny or just critical.
And the word conspiracy theory has been around for hundreds of years. It wasn't created by the CIA.
Investigation of what they were doing. So they started that whole ball rolling. In terms of Operation Paperclip, it is documented. There's absolutely no question about it.
Correct, yes.
Alan Dulles, CIA director, was an associate of Heinrich Himmler of the Third Reich. So what Dulles proceeded to do when the Third Reich was brought down was he secretly brought all of the top Nazi scientists into the U.S. He falsified their files that he gave to Harry Truman, making them look like there were no war crimes.
Again, this just isn't true. Truman knew all about Operation Paperclip. He mulled over it for about, I think 16 months is what they say. He kind of went back and forth on doing it, and he finally signed off on it. Allen Dulles was not associates with Himmler. If he was, he's a really shitty friend because Himmler died in British custody in prison. So he didn't get any sympathy apparently from Dulles. But they did bring over the scientists, but Himmler did not. As far as I know, the only time that Dulles met with Himmler was during secret peace meetings, but that was it. They weren't friends, as far as I know, and he got murdered. I think he killed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he killed himself in British custody. So, the shit friend if they were friends. And Truman obviously knew about Operation Paperclip.
They brought these Nazi scientists into the CIA to work for the CIA, and that includes the human experiments they conducted on Jewish men, women, and children, and the psychological studies that these Nazi scientists had done. The CIA was using their expertise for these programs through Operation Paperclip, and this was Nazi, much of it occult beliefs that the CIA adopted and actually put these people on their payroll.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some evidence that the Nazis took over the CIA and started doing occult stuff, because it doesn't exist. It's not like they didn't come over here to make a satanic ritual at the CIA. They came over here to create rockets and get us to the moon.
Programs that came out of Operation Paperclip was MKUltra. Now, MKUltra was a very complex program that dealt with human experiments and mind manipulation.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual, the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature, self-preservation.
In the Church Committee, MKUltra came out as an actual program of mind control using mental, physical, and sexual abuse and psychotropic drugs.
Lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD.
It was one of the first times that anybody had run into a powerful drug that was different than anything else that they knew anything about.
Now, MKUltra was obviously a fucked up thing, but they did discontinue it, and they had, after the whole Frank Olson incident where he jumped out the window, they made a documentary about it. It's called Wormwood. But pretty much, most of it was voluntary, as far as I know. They did do some experiments on people without their knowledge, one of them being Frank Olson. Then he jumped out the window. He was like a biologist or something, or chemist for the CIA. And most of it was like voluntary at colleges and stuff. In fact, Ted Kaczynski, he was involved in MKUltra, so was Whitey Bulger. So they did a lot of fucked up experiments, and the CIA did a lot of shit back in the 50s and 60s. But I don't know what this, again, I don't know what this has to do with adrenochrome and QAnon and cabals.
Decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans.
At Ravenscraig, Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and electric shock treatments than any researchers in the MKUltra.
Like, Ford actually signed an executive order to ban the use of, or ban giving people drugs without their knowledge in any kind of experiments, anything like that, after the whole Frank Olson lawsuit.
Project dared. His aim was to wipe the mind clean. Then he would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition as many as 250,000 times. This was called psychic driving.
He would give the patient intensive electric treatment.
Guy looks like a Russian.
To implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
What's the guy's name?
To a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
Brainwashing.
Yes.
Stephen Miller. That's who I was thinking of. He looks like a Russian Stephen Miller.
You're doing fine. Just try to describe it. Oh, you don't
That
know,
guy's tripping balls.
You want to give yourself. You want to give yourself as much as you can. How do you feel inside?
But this is what they do. They butter you up with some of this stuff, and then, you know, they're fixing to hit you with the Pizzagate, shit like that.
Nobody explained it to me. Nobody ever asked me if I was willing to do it or anything.
And that's fucked up. These people deserve to be taken care of for the rest of their life.
Well,
If any of them
they
are
kept
still
me asleep
alive.
for 23 days. And while I was asleep, they were shocking the heck out of me with electric shocks and playing tapes.
It was really like a concentration camp.
That's what penal that is. You mind if I look this way?
You look that way. Nothing for you to watch here, but you're going to talk to me as we go along.
They couldn't go any further because CIA Director Richard Helms destroyed all the CIA's MK-Ultra documents, and they had to rely on coached witnesses. So they were never able to dig.
They didn't destroy all the documents. They had 20,000 documents still available. They did destroy some of them, but not all of them. There was plenty of documents about MK-Ultra.
Even deeper. What they got was bad enough. It was never terminated. There's no evidence that it was ever terminated. No documents, no nothing, and not even an admission by the CIA that it's been terminated.
How do you feel?
I'm feeling better, thank you.
Feeling better? Are you sleeping well?
Yes, I'm feeling better now.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After
Yeah,
all
but they're not
these
doing
years
that.
of us,
So
those of us who are involved in looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
So MK Ultra was one of the hardest programs for me to wrap my head around because it's a lot of subset programs, and I was really surprised that Brad Martin knew about MK Ultra.
People think that research people are crazy for talking about MK Ultra, mind control. Even if they acknowledge that existed, they go, "Oh, well, that ended in the 70s." That's a crock of shit.
And perhaps the world's only hope.
now, they're saying it didn't end in the 70s, and then their proof of that is what, popping to Zoolander? Seems a little sus.
Sinister assassination plot.
The movie that I did involving that topic was Zoolander.
Fashion industry.
By the way, Trump has a cameo in Zoolander, so I feel like if that was Joe Biden, they'd make a connection there.
Has been behind every major political assassination over the last 200 years.
I mean, at the time, I was making a comedy and I had no idea what I was involved with. But now looking back on the movie, I'm blown away at just the propaganda.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
In a movie like Zoolander, when they're showing you that they're controlling Derek Zoolander's mind through mind control, you realize that they're trying to desensitize you and to make you think that what you're watching.
I mean, just come the fuck on now. So wait, so when the Hulk got mind controlled by Scarlet Witch and the Avengers, is that the CIA trying to desensitize me when they had to use the Hulkbuster suit on him? Is that what that was? Or, hear me out, was it just a movie plot? Like, I just don't, like, what? I don't think anyone ever in the history of ever would get desensitized enough by Zoolander to be okay with somebody mind controlling them. Again, this is all horseshit pseudoscience that you only see in the movies, and that's probably where these guys think this actually works. Like, oh yeah, no, mind control. Same thing with like violence in video games. It's just you're not gonna get used to the thought of mind control because you saw it in Zoolander. It's just, and they jump from MK Ultra, a thing that actually happened that was fucked up, that clearly showed that mind control is not possible even under the most stressful conditions, and they hop to, well, clearly Zoolander is prepping you for mind control because they gave people LSD in the 60s.
Is fiction because it's in a comedy.
They definitely don't get comedy, yes, correct.
Like a mass MK. Their purpose, to capture the minds of the people and feed them false history. CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movie.
By the way, this guy is not only an anti-vaxxer, he's a 9/11 truther, he's a Sandy Hook conspiracy guy. He's run the gamut. And he left the CIA. He's a CIA whistleblower because he got mad because they put him in a house that had mold, and he got pissed about it, and he quit. And then he started putting out all this stuff about the CIA. But that's basically his backstory. He sued the CIA over it because they put him in a house that had mold. So I'll have the story in the description if you want to read it. It's kind of boring, but this guy is not some Jack Reacher or anything like that.
Movies, the population believes.
All right, so look, here's the deal.
Look, bruh.
They have been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To buy.
Definition of entertain. To show hospitality to. Oh, wow. That's... what a scary thing. They want to show us hospitality. I think he gets down here to the third definition. Or we could use to provide entertainment for. But he likes this one, I guess, because they're about to put it in yellow. To keep, hold, or maintain in the mind, entertain grave doubts about her sincerity.
Bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay.
Like,
now,
this is some
let's
next
take
level
the word
shit he gets
Hollywood.
into right
Where
here.
does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient Druids...
Oh, so sorry, sir, but that is incorrect. That is a myth that tourists tell each other. You would think somebody who's worked in fucking Hollywood for 26 years would know this. You know where Hollywood comes from? It was a guy that bought property in the I think it was either early 1800s or late 1700s. Like 1799 maybe. This guy bought property, and he was selling property where Hollywood is now. And his wife went on a trip to Illinois, went to a place with her friend, and it was called Hollywood. And she really, really liked the name. So when she got back, she made her husband name their next subdivision Hollywood. And that is how Hollywood got its name. It is extremely boring, extremely dumb, and not fancy at all. But that's how it's got its name. I have an article about it in the description. This little rant he's about to go on is just completely dumb, and it's like a thing they tell tourists.
Back in the day, you used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi's or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population. We'll cut to today.
Granted, if the story was true, it still wouldn't mean any fucking thing, but it's not.
What do we have in our houses? We have these black boxes. What are they called? TVs. But if you stop and you say...
Is this not the most meth head rant you ever heard? You got entertainment, bro, and then you got Hollywood, and then you got TVs. I'm just saying, like,
television. And when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels.
Oh shit.
And when you turn on those channels,
Tell 'em.
what's on those channels?
Preach.
Programming.
That's right.
They are programming you. They've been
You heard him.
programming your whole life. You
Whole
don't
life.
even know it. They do it with your music. They do it with your TV. They do it with your movies. They do it with your games.
I'm pretty sure I had this conversation when I was stoned at 15 with a friend of mine. Pretty much word for word. And then we talked about how God wasn't real or something. Just saying.
Games, they have been programming us and programming you since you were little, and you don't even know it because you don't even question it.
Well, that was a lot. Yeah, it was all dumb. My dad used to call the TB the boob tube. What secret meaning is behind that? So take that one. Pictures of stuff. Cool.
Starting in 1900, we entered a previously unimaginable time of modern technology. Advances that allowed the rulers of this world to construct and direct our stories in ways we previously never imagined. As a result, new techniques to control the population were realized. These are the people from the companies that we have trusted to deliver us our news and tell our stories. This has always been about controlling what we as the population think and hear. They help create our culture and influence our society.
Oh, they got Breitbart and the Daily Wire in there. Okay.
We think that the gatekeepers have our best interest in mind.
The dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And
They're
it
talking
could
about
be
Trump.
That while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job. That is our job. That is our job. Our job.
Like, okay, I understand that it sounds kind of like, oh, she said it's our job to control what you think. It's just a live broadcast, and they're talking about something, and I don't really think she meant it in that way. I think, well, as the previous rant shows us, they really read into shit. And she just said something, and I don't think she meant it was her job to control what you think. I think she meant it was her job to deliver the facts of a situation, which is what they were talking about in this clip. And they were talking about how Trump completely distorts everything. I believe this was right after he said that the unemployment rate was like 44% or something, some crazy fucking number. And they were talking about how he distorts facts. But if you want to, condemn an entire group of people and think that there's a giant satanic cabal because a lady said 4 words, I mean, go off.
As I was researching, I found that most of the early communication companies were developed for shipping or aviation. And a lot of the men that started these companies were commissioned by the military during World War I and World War II. Many of these men worked for the Army and Navy intelligence services, along with the OSS, which we know became the CIA. There were many examples of these men becoming the heads or founders of some of the biggest motion picture and media companies before and after their government or military service. I wanted to know how many of the media companies in today's world connected back to Washington. So I started looking. It was like a family tree. The connections between our government personnel and the media corporations was unbelievable.
All right, I think this is just a dumb point because normally in our world, we usually become attracted to or get in relationships with the people that we are around. And people in our government are constantly around people in the media, whether they're being interviewed, they run in the same circles. There's a lot of media companies in DC, a lot of politicians in DC. Their circles intersect. And I think that's it. I mean, if a bunch of nurses were dating a bunch of doctors, I wouldn't think it's some nefarious thing. I would just think it's, that's the people they're closest to. And that's it. It's like, oh, well, this lady's dated 3 people that she's worked with. It's like, well, okay, yeah, that's because that's the people you're around. I just, kind of a dumb point. Like, oh, these people that work in Washington have dated people and married people that work for NBC. It's like, well, yeah, that's how that works, I guess.
Google, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, CNN, ABC. So what would happen if all these companies had the same political ideology or agenda? We as this population like to hear
Oh, here we
people
go. James
confirm our
Elephantis.
confirmation biases. We like to hear people tell us that we're right. We don't like to be wrong. And we believe that the people on the media and the people that we're listening to have our best interests in mind. The problem is,
I mean, I don't think that. No, I don't think anybody on TV has my best interests in mind. I treat news media as we should. You digest it, you look at it, you check the situation, and if it's a possible story that could be true, or you're not sure if it's true, you double check it. You pay attention to the narratives they're pushing and look beyond it. I don't just outright take everything that Anderson Cooper says to be 100% fact. But on the same token, I don't think that he is secretly plotting to try and control my mind so the cabal can overtake the world. I mean, I feel like there's a happy medium somewhere there. That's just me, though.
what if they don't? So if you stop and think about it, they can place any agenda on the population that they choose.
Oh, gotta show Lucifer, of course.
Hollywood is teaching bad morals to the youth of this country, as well as adults.
Why is that guy on a boat?
Desensitizing of violence to the masses. You can't deny that. My kids have seen.
I love how the fucking stuntman is talking about, oh, we're desensitizing violence. My kids have seen violence. You mean the violence that you've portrayed on screen, my guy? I don't know, man. Seems like maybe you got a guilty conscience there. And there's been a million studies done about violence in movies, violence in video games. It doesn't have any effect on people. That's horseshit. There's no link. People don't see somebody get killed in COD and then go do it. That's not how it works. I would have done shot some people up when I was younger if that was the case.
Very violent ways.
3 times as much gun violence now.
And the sex that's in PG-13 movies.
Why?
Every Disney movie, there's a major character, usually a parent, that gets killed. Trauma to the child. Why?
Well, first, it's not every Disney movie. Beauty and the Beast doesn't have a parent die, but it makes for a good story arc. They're trying to tell a good story. Usually a character, for us to sympathize or like relate to it, needs to go through some trauma. Even as children, usually if the character just has everything go right the entire time, we don't, that's not how our lives are, so we don't relate to them. They have some trauma, so later on when they succeed, we're like, yeah, and we can, build our morale, as the military put it in that document.
So horrible. What a bad story. Why do you need to start a story with a parent dying? Always. It's so sad.
Under MK
I mean, that is a sad scene. That movie was also made in the fucking 50s.
We were even taught this in psychophysiology program that if you get to a child between ages 1 and 6 or 1 or 8, especially with sexual abuse or sexual trauma, you will.
I bet you fucking a bunch of little small 6-year-old children know about the sex in the sky that some Disney animator who was bored put in there. I bet that really got to a lot of people. Or the dildo that's in The Little Mermaid. I bet a bunch of kids saw that. Some shit I didn't know about till I was 19. But yeah, I bet you they really catched on to that.
Split their personality and they will be the rest of their life, and many times that results in split personalities.
Yep, but a bunch of 4-year-olds caught that. Most definitely.
And dissociative behavior and other things.
I kind of talked over it there, but he says there that stuff like that can make children have split personality disorder. You know how many children have split personality disorder. About 0.5%. Half of 1% in the country have split personality disorder. It can be as high as 1.5, but it's more towards 0.5%. So apparently fucking Disney needs to do a better job with their propaganda because they're not getting much dissociated disorders.
All topics are being introduced to our kids, and most parents aren't even aware.
Study in the comments or in the description.
So the biggest surge with this occult type material took place in the late 60s and the early 70s with movies like The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Roman Polanski's.
Yeah, but we've had scary movies for fucking ever since there was film, basically. I mean, Nosferatu, that came out in like the 20s, and that's one of the scariest things I ever seen. Like, that's a scary ass looking dude. We've had scary movies and monster movies forever.
Rosemary's Baby. And coincidentally, this same time period, it parallels the rise of the Church of Satan in Los Angeles, and it was founded by a guy named Anton LaVey.
Okay, this guy was just he did this for like shock value. You know where Anton LaVey got his whole getup, the idea for his getup? He got it from a 60s Rodney Dangerfield movie. Or not Rodney Dangerfield. Bob Hope. Yeah, Bob Hope movie called The Wild Wild West. There's a guy that has like an evil getup, and he basically copied that. And the reason that he shaved his head, the story he went with was that, it was for, Satan. But he had actually lost a bet, and he just rolled with it. He was a Hollywood guy, basically. He used his character to shock people, and he had people write books about him. He made music. He gained a following because he was, counterculture. He's not some Satanist. He's just a fucking guy who found a grift, and he went with it.
When I was a police officer, we had cases of satanic cults right in Arlington, Virginia. Those have been around for decades. They're in the high schools, they're in the colleges, they're in the government, and they're in Hollywood.
Fucking citation needed, Kevin. Citation needed. No citation is given, by the way, but citation definitely needed.
I got to meet people
like this whole, this is just basically satanic panic shit that went on in the, the start, the end of the 70s through the 80s. People, and that's basically what's going on now. It's like every 30 years we get worried about Satanists drinking blood, but that's all that is.
Sammy Davis and that kind of shit. Sammy told me he worshiped the devil. Sammy was like, Satan is as powerful as God. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, why do you think there's so much anger in the world and killing and murder and Satan? And he saw my reaction to it, and he kind of lightened up on it. And he was like, in downtown, it's dark, and it's the candles on the table, and Sammy's face over the candle. Satan is as powerful as God.
Okay, but, okay, so maybe, Sammy was into Satanism, but in the satanic text, one of the main tenets is do no harm. So, let's just throw that out there. Their big thing is do no harm. And if all the powerful elites were in on this, this cabal, I don't think there's any two bigger comedians than Eddie Murphy and Jerry Seinfeld, and clearly they think it's ridiculous and they're laughing about it and they think it's funny. So how come they're not in on it? I mean, maybe Dave Chappelle is the only one bigger than those two. They're basically the most successful comedians ever. So they had to sell their soul, because that's the, you can't get famous without selling your soul. But yet they're sitting here making fun of Sammy Davis Jr. So I don't know if that clip really does you any favors.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god or to a mother goddess or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses.
Michael Aquino was a high-level officer in the National Security Agency. He was and is, you'll see him today, a practicing Satanist. He created the Satanic Temple of Set, which he still runs. He was a high-level NSA officer. He's a member of the association I used to be in, the Association of Former Intelligence Officers, AFIO. He's a member of that. He's plugged in big time to the intelligence community, and he wrote a paper called Mind War. And Mind War was about psychological operations against populations, including the American, the domestic population, using Satanist techniques and tools.
Aquino was first involved in MK Ultra operations during the Vietnam War.
Just wait for it. We'll dig into this.
Well, first, I've been involved in intelligence and psychological operations for about 40 years.
Those fucking eyebrows,
all
man.
levels of it and across the intelligence community.
You are a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Correct.
Now, and how
This
does
is
the Army
satanic
feel about you
panic
being
shit.
head of the Temple of Set?
The Army has known about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968. The Army has paid very little attention to it, the same as it would to anybody who was, say, a follower of Hinduism or of Buddhism or any other slightly unusual religion today.
He was occupied a position at the Presidio, which was a training facility for the U.S. government, and it was uncovered that he was running a pedophile ring. I think 50 kids came out and fingered him as the guy that had done sexual acts on them as children.
Okay, so let's talk about this fucking guy. First, no, he did not ever get arrested for running a pedophile ring. That is completely false. What happened was, this was during the time of the satanic panic and stuff, and one clergyman in California, his granddaughter, who was 3 years old, him and another guy supposedly kind of pushed her into saying that he did something. The police investigated him, found no evidence whatsoever, and he was living in DC at the time, so they completely dropped the case, and he countersued them, and that was pretty much it. I don't know if he won the suit or anything, but it was completely frivolous. There's absolutely no proof. They're definitely not 50 people. It was one girl that was 3 that was apparently pressured by her conservative clergyman grandfather and his other priest friend into trying to say that he, tried to sacrifice her. And that was pretty much it. And as far as him, being this Temple of Set and him using these mind control power, being involved in mind control, like he was a naval reserve officer, or he's basically a reserve officer. It was like a part-time thing, and he wrote a paper. And that was it. They didn't use it. He wrote a paper, like he's a character. You could see with the fucking eyebrows spiked up. Like he's not some cultist guy. He basically, kind of like LaVey, just ran a cult, or had like a group of following, and he put out some papers. He wrote like 6 books about the Temple of Set. He stepped away for a while. God, there was something else I was gonna say. I was gonna tell you too. Fuck. What was it? Something about him that was interesting. I can't remember. Should have wrote it down probably. But yeah, no, he wasn't a pedophile. He was accused during the Satanic Panic by one person's 3-year-old daughter, which at I don't know, 3 years old. And then it turned out police investigated it. He was never arrested. It was all horse shit, and that was pretty much it.
Children. It went to trial. He walked from the trial.
Watch, he gets flustered here.
Because he had a good attorney,
yeah.
Despite the fact that there were multiple witnesses that said Aquino, through satanic rituals, had abused them as children. There's no question.
Yeah, that's not true. None of that is true at all. Absolutely false.
That he's a practicing Satanist. Just watch any one of his interviews.
Okay.
On this altar.
That's his evidence. We know he's a practicing Satanist. Just watch any of his interviews. That's not evidence, my guy.
One of a number of daggers which we may use in our rituals. This one happens to belong to the commanding general of the most elite unit of
I guess this was
Germany's
pre the
East
eyebrow
SS,
flip.
which was concerned with black magic and occultism research in general. Anything that it could find that had to do with the origins of the human race, destiny.
Like, I don't understand how they don't understand this is an act. Like, he dresses in a black robe, he acts mysterious, and, people dig that shit.
Humanity.
And because he holds a dagger and talks a little weird.
Held by Heinrich Himmler was of an evil magic that could help create a new master race. Wewelsburg Castle is where he performed his.
Yes, the Nazis were dumb, and they believed in like occult magic powers. We get it.
Ceremonies.
I have been to the Wewelsburg, which still preserves Heinrich Himmler's ritual chambers to this day, and have conducted a black magical ritual, the so-called Hall of the Dead, beneath the Wewelsburg. This particular dagger is inscribed to our comrade in the Leibstandarte Theodor Wisch, Brigadeführer, a major general in the Waffen-SS. On its blade, it bears the inscription,
scary.
Mine era
Very
heißt treu,
scary.
or my honor shall be known by my faithfulness.
Aquino's thesis stated that enemy populations could be subdued by inflicting a state of psychological terror and feelings of imminent destruction. He discusses the use of psychotronic weapons and electromagnetic weapons that influence the mind.
Again, discusses, theorizes. That's it. That's all it is. There's nothing to it. It's just he wrote a paper about stuff and he happened to be in the army.
By extremely low frequency signals, piggybacked on broadcasts of radio, TV, or microwave communications in order to influence and manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the target population. These ongoing MKUltra operations are functioning as a counterinsurgency and infiltration operation aimed at destabilizing the United States and other industrialized nations.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in
basically
contributing to the counterculture of the 60s.
Their argument is
their intense interest in
MKUltra
LSD
turned everybody
and
into a
other
bunch of
hallucinogenics.
hippies.
But for the moment at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
It's free love, man.
Laurel Canyon was the epitome of the summer of love. I mean, we saw the possibility of a way we could live.
It's odd because in Laurel Canyon, so many of the soon-to-be stars there, their parents were in either the military-industrial complex or intelligence or the Pentagon. In Frank Zappa's case,
this is such a reach
and
right
working
here.
at Edgewood Arsenal, where they were doing biochem studies, psychotropic, and exposing U.S. troops to VX nerve gas and other things. The family kept gas masks in their house. He grew up with that in case there was an accident. And Edgewood Arsenal was doing very similar related MKUltra projects on U.S.
All right, just again, like what is like? I'm just this part is almost over. Like I don't understand what any of this has to do with the main plot. Like why are we talking about fucking Frank Zappa and gas masks and still talking about MKUltra? I don't get it.
The Gulf of Tonkin is another prime example. The commander of the Gulf Fleet in the Gulf of Tonkin, his son was Jim Morrison.
Okay, one, they didn't like each other. Jim Morrison and his dad were estranged, and also Jim Morrison's dad's involvement in the Gulf of Tonkin was he relayed that during the second attack, the fake attack, which kind of started things off in the Vietnam War, he relayed that it was basically bad radar. Yeah, they thought they were Vietnam naval ships. They weren't. It was ghost radars, what they call it. He relayed that to the Secretary of State McNamara, and McNamara sat on it. So he wasn't somebody that covered up the Gulf of Tonkin. He did his job, and maybe he didn't speak out after that, but he did relay the message to the Secretary of State as far as the attack, or the non-attack.
They claimed the USS Maddox was attacked by Vietnamese vessels. It was never attacked. As a matter of fact, they put ghost ships on the radar to make it look like they were Vietnamese ships. The Maddox was never attacked. It was an actual, literal false flag to enable the U.S. to declare war on Vietnam. So Jim Morrison's dad was involved in the false flag of the Gulf of Tonkin.
By involved, he means he was just in the Navy. Like, you know, like involved is a stretch.
After talking to Kevin, I started.
Also, what does that even mean? Like, oh, so did they plant Jim Morrison with the doors to draw attention away from the Gulf of Tonkin? Like, what is your point there exactly?
Looking into Laurel Canyon. I drove down Laurel Canyon to Hollywood almost daily when I first moved out there. And I never knew that there was an old Air Force base called Lookout Mountain U.S. Air Force Base at the top of Laurel Canyon.
This is another dumb point, and then we get into the Pizzagate stuff.
Is, as if you do
We're
the
almost
history
there.
Of it, it's owned today by a guy named Jared Leto.
Another tactic developed out of the MK Ultra project was the use of compromise and control via honeypots.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
We did quite a study of prostitutes and their behavior. How do you take a woman who is willing to use her body to get money out of a guy to get...
Yeah, the CIA used honeypots. Yeah, we were aware. It's
them to talk about things which are much more important, like state secrets. We learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom. We started to pick up knowledge that could be used in operations.
There would be victims in all of this. As one agency memo says, we have no answer to the moral question.
That's one of the CIA's favorite tactic, are honeypots. And I work with CIA psychologists, and they're dirty.
I always felt that every house should have its own secret panel.
I see. You lift this.
Hugh Hefner had a secret room in his house, so Cabal.
What's that?
This is a trap door. Opens up and looks into the cave, or what time is called the Wu Grotto.
All right, while we're at this dumb part, make sure you like the stream. Really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed.
Elite people.
We're about to get into it here.
At the Playboy Mansion, on Epstein's plane, on Orgy Island, and they're photographing them. And after that, it's like Congressman so-and-so or CEO so-and-so. I wouldn't bring that up if I was you, because we got...
It's like they're explaining how blackmail works to us. Like, did you guys know if you have evidence against somebody and they want to do something that you don't want them to do, you can use that evidence to get them to not do that thing.
Photographs of you...
Glad you're awake now.
A 14-year-old girl on Epstein's plane, for example. And you talk about shutting somebody up permanently, that's how they do it.
What happens in the grotto stays in the grotto.
Okay.
Look, it's pretty simple if you think about it. To control the population, you have to control
the grotto. To control the population, you must control the grotto.
The people messaging the population. Some of these stars have 20, 30 million followers. That's more followers than CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC.
Correct.
These people have to be controlled. They can't just go off a message and start saying whatever.
So at what point, I want to know this, at what point in your follower count does the cabal reach out to you? I have like 14,000 on TikTok. At what point do they reach out to me? Am I allowed to talk to 40,000 people? Is it 100,000? Or is it like 5 million? Do I have a ways to go? Like at what point does the cabal say, oh no, this person must be controlled.
Whatever they want to say. They have to be somewhat reined in. They have to be controlled, or they do not get the platform to have the voice that they have.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the...
I absolutely love that they use this clip to fucking further their propaganda agenda.
The idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. It's a big club. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hardworking people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hardworking people continue. These are people of modest...
I can't think of anybody that exemplifies what he's talking about more than Donald Trump. He's not talking about them being in some big cabal. He's talking about how the system is rigged against us, you know, us poor folk. Us, you know, that the issues we have, and like we're up against it basically. He's not talking, you know, they're taking these messages that are pro-worker and turning them into anti-cabal, like, you know, like, oh no, he's talking about how the cabal runs everything. Like, well, no, you kind of have it backwards. Like, you're almost getting to the point, and then you're veering hard right. It's so dumb that, and this whole movie is just anti-Hollywood, and all the people they use to make their points are Hollywood people.
Means continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't care about you at all, at all, at all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant, because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Correct, yes.
Stop for a second and you just look at the bigger picture, and you check out for a minute and you kind of compare the ancient times to...
Like, just stop and think for a second, guys. Like, it's all you gotta do. Just, like, stop, think, make a Twitter account, follow a bunch of QAnon stuff, and you'll figure it out.
Back then they had, like, what, demigods and gods? They were like Achilles, Hercules, Apollo, Mercury. All these were demigods, and that's who the people in those days looked up to. Well, today we have all these people like Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry. In film, we have...
Yeah, because those are the same thing. Yeah, I guess. Sure, man.
Brad Pitt, Will Smith. We have all these big stars, and the way they prop them up and they put them up on stage is like they're gods or demigods.
In this room,
I almost feel like he's like saying demagogue and like demigod, like he's almost mixing it, like it's demigod, not like, I don't know, he's saying it in a weird way.
some of the most important TV and film executives.
Here's another TV celebrity he's using to make his point about anti-Hollywood. Like, don't they understand that these people are doing a bit? This is a bit. He's doing a bit here. This is a joke. It's funny. This is a Hollywood guy that clearly doesn't understand how acting or Hollywood works.
In the world, people from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year.
Notice how they're laughing.
It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care.
Most people don't want to cross the psychological line that this stuff is going on.
Like, the joke is he's in the room too. Like like, I don't.
And we all have a mental defense mechanism. It's like finally admitting there's an elite pedophile ring. I mean, most people just don't want to go there. And the same is here.
I mean, it's not that we don't want to go
Psychologically,
there.
You lose your safety, your security, and whatever innocence you have when you realize that this stuff is really going on. And it's a
Yeah, guys, we're gonna lose our innocence.
it's a chore to cross over that barrier and realize, oh my gosh, this stuff is really happening. And that's why it takes critical thinking. The people have got to look at this stuff critically and see what they're being fed so they can cross that psychological line that they just refuse to see it when it's
Make
right
sure
in
you
front
watch that next Katy Perry video very
Kevin
critically.
Said there's an elite pedophile ring. Well, I'm thinking of
Rewatch
myself,
Swish Swish.
This is a hard thing for me to come to terms with. Now, it made me start thinking about conversations and things I'd heard, but I'd never saw it. It's not out in the open. And to me, I was like, no one could do that. Because, I mean, if I saw someone hurting a kid, I would kill them. I would literally kill them. I would never allow someone to hurt a child.
Again, guy goes through entire Hollywood career. Two guys go through entire Hollywood career, never see any evidence, and then they find Liz fucking Crokin online, and now they have all the evidence.
Out in front of me. Things Kevin was saying were things that were hard for me to cross the barrier. I did not want to believe it. I didn't want to go there. But as I went down this journey, I forced myself to go consider, what if this is real? And the only person that was talking about this stuff
Here we
was
go.
a girl named Liz Crokin. And the media had declared her completely out of her mind. But as I started researching some
As they should.
of the things she was reporting on, I was like,
Yeah, cheese
there's
pizza time.
truth to what she's saying. So I want to talk to her.
Of course you do.
I started working in journalism at a very young age. I got my first job working for Fox Chicago at about
As a gossip columnist. Liz Crokin was a gossip columnist. She wasn't doing hard-hitting reporting for the Post. Let's just put that into context.
the age of 17 years old. At the University of Iowa, I studied political science and journalism.
Ooh.
One semester, I interned for Bill O'Reilly at Fox News Channel. My last year in college, I
Why don't they talk about Bill O'Reilly? Man, I feel like he'd be fucking right up the alley for this.
interned for the State Department's White House reporter.
Interned.
And that placed me reporting in the White House every single day for a few months. I went on to work
Never mind.
for the Chicago Tribune. And my first boss there told me that everything that I should get should be checked over and over and over again and verified to death. That's how I was trained.
He was right.
And that's what a true, honest journalist does. Started covering local politics and local hard news. And then eventually I got my own column for 7 years where I interviewed tons of celebrities.
Yeah, exactly. See, she was a gossip columnist. Notice she talked about the hard-hitting reporting, but didn't show any articles. This is what she's been a gossip columnist before she got into QAnon.
Celebrities and politicians and musicians, and worked at Us Weekly, and then at one point I worked at In Touch Weekly magazine.
Yeah.
But then in 2015,
Not that there's anything wrong with being a gossip columnist, but if you're a super Q-peeled idiot, then, I'm going to poke at your credentials a little bit.
felt the need to get back into covering hard news, and in early 2016 I started working for Town Hall, and then eventually I started working for the New York Observer and broke a lot of election related stories. I worked in media for over 2 decades, and I never had any issues. I was very well respected. I basically was embraced by the mainstream media until I started reporting on Pizzagate.
I was embraced by the mainstream media till I did something absolutely fucking insane. Yeah, that's kind of how that goes, sis. Dun dun dun. Back to fiction.
Pizzagate came out.
All right,
the media
let's.
tried to turn Pizzagate into something that wasn't.
Surprises of
Yeah,
the
but
presidential
that's what
campaign
happened.
was the explosion of fake news on the internet.
Fucking interwebs, man.
28-year-old Edgar Welch was arrested in Washington Sunday afternoon outside Comet Ping Pong, a popular family pizza.
I love how they say fact or fiction, and then they lead with the story that obviously shows that it's bullshit. Like, I don't even know why they included this. But, you know, this kid went in there, shot twice, searched around after the place, you know, got emptied. And then once he didn't find anything, because, you know, obviously not real, he came out with his hands up.
Pizza parlor. DC police say Welch fired at least one round into the restaurant floor with an AR-15 rifle like this one on his Facebook page. No
what a
one was
fucking
injured.
goober.
Someone on Twitter, whose name remains unverified but has several thousand followers, posted that new emails found on Anthony Weiner's computer confirmed that Hillary Clinton was involved in a pedophilia ring. The rumor spread, inspiring some
that's a hard
newfound
no.
internet sleuths to start digging around in John Podesta's hacked emails, searching for proof and location of the so-called sex ring.
In those emails, they are absolutely littered with code words.
Oh, is that so?
And many of these code words are food words, such as pizza.
Okay, when she says there's many code words and a lot of them are food words, she means one word. She means the word pizza. And that's it. We will progress from there.
He said to me, "Hey, Dave, search for pizza in Podesta's emails. And once you go down that rabbit hole, you know..."
Okay, so we're talking 60,000 emails of John Podesta's. The word pizza is mentioned something like 100 times, something like that. Yeah, right around in there. The word pizza is mentioned about 100 times. One, him and his brother, they're an Italian family. Two, they run political campaigns, and I think I've made this point on a live stream before. But one thing you do a lot of the times in politics is you work with a lot of young kids, big staffs, and when you're eating, you got to get food for people. One of the easiest things to pick up is pizzas. I had a company for about 5 years. I did like food service. I would have a crew of like 20 or 30. I didn't send email, but I don't know how many text messages I sent telling somebody to pick up a couple pizzas for the guys, or hey, why don't you get a couple pizzas on the way, or hey, we're going to be working all night, why don't you get a couple pizzas for the boys, for the guys, for the crew, whatever. So the fact that in 60,000 some emails, he says pizza 100 times. Also, him and his brother were known to have these big fundraiser Italian dinners at Comet Ping Pong. That was the restaurant that they did a lot of these events at. So that's kind of where Comet Ping Pong came into the thing. The fact that an Italian guy who works in politics and runs a campaign used the word pizza 100 times over 60,000 emails is about the most fucking non-story thing I've ever heard in my life. But, you know, okay.
Never really emerged the same person.
It was
And then, okay. So let's go, I think she brings it up again, but just in case she doesn't, let's go over this email exchange. I have it right up here somewhere. Not that one. Maybe we can take that one away. Is this it? Yeah. No, that's not it. That's the Abramovich ones. That's the Moloch one. Okay, here's the conversation. Is that where it started? Let me make sure. Now, okay, so they're very freaked out that it says would love to get a pizza for an hour. Here it is. Here's the exchange between its subject. You two free for dinner on the 12th or 13th? Mary, not free. Would love to get a pizza for an hour or come over. Now, an hour is typical lunch break, or clearly they want to catch up. They're trying to get dinner. Hey, you want to come over? I'd love to, get a pizza for an hour and chat. It might be a kind of a weird way to phrase it. You go on to the next one. That might work. Somalia. Jeez. They're talking about, you know, something in Somalia. And then this is the same thing. Podesta, John Podesta, to whoever this person is. Sep? I don't know, I can't, whatever. To Tony Podesta. Back on the 12th, but may have to go to Somalia. Give me some dates. MLK Day? Like, they're planning a dinner. Like, they're planning to, like, get together for a meal or something. And let's see. And then it goes on from there. Best fear. It's all the respawns. And this is how it is. It's not the 12th for me, and the 13th is John's hand surgery. When are you back and for how long? Like, if you were arranging an occult sacrifice, child service, or procuring a young boy, is this how you're gonna talk? Oh no, well, John has hand surgery on the 13th. You know, we'd love to get together though. It's just, I guess because he put the word hour in there. Like, if they would have just cut that out, then everything would have been fine. Would love to get a pizza for an hour. Or come over. Like, you two free for, like, this is one of the things that they're so up in arms about. It's one of the biggest nothings in the whole thing. You talk about fucking molehill out of a mountain, or a mountain out of a molehill.
Obvious from the get-go that these words were code words for something else, because the context
Obviously.
they were used in did not make sense.
To be clear.
Again, these are like extremely busy people in Washington sending emails back and forth. Because he said for an hour would like to get a pizza. I guess that proves everything.
Not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking
Right.
or pedophilia.
This guy right here, by the way, who did this on the local news, he's another anti-vax, conspiracy, 9/11, truther, Sandy Hook type guy. He got fired because he started doing these segments again, like these reality check horseshit conspiracy segments.
That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles.
There is some kind of code language. They're just not talking about pizza.
Again, here's the same email. Would love to come over and get pizza for an hour.
Folks.
Like, come
Who
on.
phrases that? Who blocks out an hour of time to eat a slice of pizza?
I don't know, a friend who wants to get dinner and chat for a while.
You can get a service for a half an hour, you can get a massage for a half an hour, but you can't get food for a half an hour. It just absolutely
Like,
makes
it's
no
totally
sense.
crazy.
Other ones like the realtor found a handkerchief. I think it
Yeah.
has a map.
Okay, let's go over that one. Have that one here, tell. What's the hot dog email? Okay, this is the email exchange about the handkerchief. It's from his realtor at the Sandler Foundation. Subject: did you leave a handkerchief? Okay, thanks. To Susan. Subject: did you leave a handkerchief? Excuse me. It's mine. It's mine, but not to worry. Don't worry about it. It's not. It's mine, but not worth worrying about. Sandler Foundation. Hi, John. The realtor, and this is the part they're so freaked out about. The realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. Is it yours? They can send it if you want. I know you're busy, so feel free not to respond if it's not yours or you don't want it. You know, then it goes on. You left something at the field house. I just came in from checking the field house, and I have a square cloth handkerchief, white/black, that was left on the kitchen island. So, if this handkerchief that is pizza related is nefarious, apparently he left it on the kitchen island. Happy to send it to you via the mail. if you let me know where I should send it. So okay, are they trying to say that this pizza-related map thing that supposedly is like a kid or something, he left it on the kitchen island, and that she's gonna send it to him through the mail? Okay. And then they go on to talk about something else. I also meant to inquire yesterday about the pillows you purchased. I could send them as well if you let me know where the houses are. Safe travels, Kate. Okay, and then this is back from him. Thanks, Kate. We already enjoyed it, and it was very informative for us. We're all talking about how great they think we are. They think you are. And I think that's it. But yeah, basically, this is just... Yeah, they just go on to talk about dumb shit. And basically... So basically, she says, did you leave a handkerchief? It's got a map. It seems pizza related. She says he can send it in the mail. And you know, I don't know why it put him like this, but the last one that he sent was, it's mine, but it's not worth worrying about. So are they trying to say he left, like, I don't know, some adrenochrome fucking shit on the kitchen counter? She was gonna send it to him, but he's not worried about it. And he says, just whatever. Don't worry about sending it. It's just a tie. So is it an occult thing? Is it some kind of adrenochrome? Is it a child? Or is he not worried about it because it's a tie that maybe has some kind of like funny map to a pizza place on it? Some kind of dad tie. Do you see how stupid it gets when you actually look at the actual emails?
App that seems pizza related. And another one is Obama spent $65,000 flying in pizza and hot dogs from Chicago. Are we using the same channels?
Pizza is a well-known pedophile code word that actually has been used.
They actually fucking used Urban Dictionary. And it's not pizza. Pizza is not the pedophile code word. It is cheese pizza. You know, CP for, you know, child porn. CP is the word that they use, not just pizza. At least that's never been proven or anything.
Law enforcement to arrest online sexual predators of children. And there's been multiple...
Like, they literally lie to you as they show it to you on screen. Pizza is the word, and they show it to you on screen that it's not pizza.
Arrests that have
Yeah,
been
like, same
made
thing. Cheese pizza.
by law enforcement of pedophiles trying to solicit children by using the pedophile code word pizza.
Again, cheese pizza.
2007, unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI.
Okay, so we all know the fucking what a pizza looks like. So the fact that, you know, this symbol, which even though the FBI did release this, like, it's just like it's basically like a maybe thing. Like, hey, possibly, like, it's a possibility. It's not like a 100% like this is what you need to look for. Also, this came out in 2007, so you'd think the people at the highest levels of government might have changed their logos. I just feel like maybe they would have by 2017 or 16, whenever this came out.
Contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. Notice this one on the end, the triangle.
Okay.
That image signifies something called boy love.
Ooh.
The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza. That's the pizza? Well, this...
Again, it looks like a pizza slice, though. Pizza is that kind of shape. I guess because they put an extra thing to it. And this isn't even Comet Ping Pong. This is the place next to it that had this logo.
This was their logo until only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, because a bunch of crazy fucking conspiracy theorists
refuses to cover it.
harass them.
The mainstream media redefined what Pizzagate was to make it sound ridiculous and less believable. And then they had people like Megyn Kelly come in, interview James Alefantis, didn't ask him any challenging questions.
a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, they didn't ask him any challenging questions like, hey man, do you run a pedophile ring out of the basement of your pizza place? I ain't got no evidence for that except, you know, pizza or something.
Theory that even the DC police say has no basis in fact.
She didn't ask him any
Like,
questions
this poor fucking
about
guy,
the pictures
man.
of children on his Instagram page looking abused, being
Okay.
sexualized.
Like, if this guy wasn't gay, I don't understand. Like, okay. And a lot of these images,
Ask
like,
him about-
okay. Like that one before, it's not even his. Jimmy Comet is his. This is like a birthday party. I don't know why they show this image next to it. But the one before that, with that's not even him.
Pedophile talk.
Yeah, okay, that's just weird. But you can see that's not his account. Like somebody just tagged Comet Ping Pong.
So
That is
the
a
whole
that is a terrible fucking image right there. I didn't want to see that, but like several of these posts, like they're not even from James Alefantis' account. They're somebody that tagged Comet Ping Pong, which any person in the world can do that has Instagram.
Mainstream media painted him as this poor victim, as this person that was innocent, that was just victimized, as something that wasn't true. But just his Instagram.
Now tell me what is wrong with that. This is one of James. This isn't James Alefantis, but this is one of James Alefantis' friends, a gay man. Now tell me if this was a straight dude with two half-naked women, would this raise any alarm bells? Would anybody be like, "Oh, that's scary"? Like, what is wrong with a gay guy taking a picture with two other shirtless guys? I don't understand how this is worrisome in any way.
Page alone should have been enough for authorities to look into him.
Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually,
Same with that. Miss Summer, like I think he rents out the place to do like a photo shoot, and this guy did that.
no. And that's what you
Again,
need to
not
know.
James
For all that
Alefantis.
is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
This is insane.
So many people in the mainstream media have said Pizzagate is a conspiracy theory. Pizzagate has been debunked. It has not been debunked.
It has definitely been
If
debunked.
it's been debunked, explain the code words. No
Yeah, she's like freaking out. Explain the code words. Like there's no code words. It's old people talking via email.
one to this day, including John Podesta himself, can explain the code words in his emails.
Hey, John Podesta, can you please explain why you have children rented for entertainment for your adult hot tub party?
Okay, well, John Podesta's not going to explain, but allow me to. So, where's it at? Do I not have it pulled up anymore? Hold on. Tamara Lazota. Okay, this person here is Tamara Lazota, I believe is how you say it. She's a fancy-dancy, Washington, senior vice president, the Pew Charitable Trust. She's a Washington insider type. Okay, is this the Lazota ones? But okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with it. But this is her in these emails. Let's see if I could find that. But I don't know if she's using her name, email, or she's in this one. Okay, but anyway, I'm not sure which email is hers, but this is her in this conversation, this chain of emails. Let's see if we can find, here it is, Tamara Lazota, Senior Vice President, Government Relations. Pew Trust. Basically all these people. They invited him. Is this the email? Yeah, okay. So basically they're all getting together for there's a few emails in this thing, so I'll just skip to the meat of it. But they're all in this they're all getting together basically for like a family picnic type deal. We're in. Thanks for the invite. Okay, this is from her. October 15th, Tamara Lizzotto wrote, with enormous gratitude to advance man extraordinary, hey, whatever the fuck. I am popping up again to share our excitement about the reprise of our gang's visit to the farm in Lovettsville. That's, the farm refers to John Podesta's farmhouse. And I thought I'd share a couple more notes. We plan to heat the pool, so a swim is a possibility. Bonnie will be, I'm guessing is like their fucking maid or something, you know, because these people are uber rich. Bonnie will be Uber service to transport Ruby, Emerson, and Maeve Lizzotto, which are her granddaughters, 11, 9, and 7. So you'll have some further entertainment. And they will be in the pool for sure. And with the forecast showing prospects for some sun and a cooler temp of the lower 60s, I suggest you bring sweaters or whatever attire will enable us to use the outdoor table with the pergola overhead. So we dine alla fresco, and ideally not alla chillo. That's the email. That's the email with Uber service to transport her those are her granddaughters, or grandkids, whatever, and their maid is bringing them to the farmhouse, and they're gonna chill by the pool. That's it. That's the email, and it goes on. Like, you can read the other ones if you want. I'm not gonna read them all right here on stream, but like it, and that's it. I mean, that's the explanation. He's not renting children. One of the people that they're getting together with is going to have their kids Ubered over to the house so they can have a family picnic.
Parties. No one has ever explained why John Podesta has literal pedophile and cannibalism paintings all over his office and his home. Tony Podesta too.
And I'm back. Okay, and the paintings and all that stuff, that's not Tony Podesta. That's not John Podesta. That's Tony Podesta. And the shit they show on screen isn't even him. Like, I'll show you what that is. That comes from the stupid fucking Washington Life magazine. Okay? And this is like him showing off his art collection. By the way, Tony Podesta is like basically broke now. This is a few years old. But there's the Arch of Hysteria. I'll link in the comments what the artist said the reason for this thing is, but he's like a weird fancy art guy. And here's the pictures where this whole shit comes from. Okay. So, you see this picture in the back there? That's one of them. And then we have these two over here. Okay, and they're kind of weird looking. Yeah, it's like some weird art. But the pictures that they show in this documentary, like, there's no proof that he has those in his house. They're from the same artist. You can tell they're kind of similar, but they're not, it's not the same thing. Like, this is what is in his house. These people haven't, like, been in his house and, like, researched it. It comes from this stupid Washington magazine about Washington life. And man, did they take it and run with it. So they basically, all the art that artist has ever done gets thrown onto Tony Podesta because he bought a couple of their pieces.
And then you look into the spirit cooking dinners, and you look into Marina Abramovic.
Yeah, unfortunately,
conducting the spirit cooking dinners.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna stop on that or that. Or that.
Why are they going to spirit?
Okay, first of all, this is like so fucking photoshopped. You can even see the shadow. This is not like an actual thing, even though. And here, we'll look at those emails. Like they say, oh, Marina Abramovich is in the Podesta emails. here's the scope of John Podesta being in the Abramovich email, or Marina Abramovich being in the John Podesta emails. He was basically invited to one of the spirit cooking dinners and didn't get to come. It says, "Don't worry, Marina missed you, Tony." And here's the, well, I hate how they put these things. "Sorry about that, didn't notice, but should have," like basically they sent him an email and he didn't respond quick enough, and this is it. "Sorry about that, didn't notice, but should have. We'll pay the penalty and the bill for that matter." He's talking about, I thought I had the other one here. Maybe it's this one. Okay, here it is. Are you in NYC Thursday, July 9th? Marina wants you to come to dinner. Mary, like, you know, that's his wife, asking if she can come. Forward message from Marina Abramovich. Subject: dinner. "Dear Tony, I'm so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is joining us? All my love, Marina." So they basically invited John to this dinner, and he wasn't able to come. And that's the extent. And that's the other emails that I just read. He basically says like, "Oh, my bad. You know, I didn't notice the email." And he says, you know, "Don't worry, Marina missed you." That's the extent of Marina Abramovich. And then just to show you how dumb this whole spirit cooking thing is, here's the actual, here's some quotes. This is like full pages of this dumb book. "In time of doubt, keep a small meteor stone in your mouth." I guess that's the meteor stone, maybe? I don't know. This is from the spirit cooking book. Okay. Fire food. "On top of a volcano, open your mouth. Wait until your tongue becomes flame. Close your mouth. Take a deep breath." Like that. This is what the spirit cooking book is. It's not a cookbook. It's a weird, artsy, grift, dumb thing. I don't understand why anybody would ever buy this or think anything of it. And when they do these dinners, I don't know if she does it anymore, but she would write these messages on the wall, and they would just serve like soup and stuff. Like, they don't serve any weird meals. They just, you know, it's like artsy fucking rich people stuff. It's not like satanic at all. It's just kind of weird.
Cooking dinners. Why are they sacrificing chickens
I don't understand why they keep showing these weird
in their backyard?
Okay, so here's this is the sacrificed chicken to Moloch email that Hillary sent. And all it is they basically they had some issues with the European Council, and basically she ends the email by saying, "With fingers crossed, the old rabbit's foot out of the box in the attic, I will be sacrificing a chicken to Moloch in the backyard." It's like a joke. Like, she needs good luck. It's not actually sacrificing a chicken. Like, she's talking about a rabbit's foot. Did you think she actually cut off a rabbit's foot? I don't. Like, these emails are such nothing burgers, but they just take like these little tidbits and like 6 words here, 5 words over here, and they try to make something out of them, and there's just nothing to them. Like, yeah, they're talking about issues with the EU. That's all. And she's like, fingers crossed we'll get this done. It's just like a joke. It's like a fucking joke email at work.
This isn't my words. This is their words. This is in their email.
Clearly that last photo was photoshopped. Like, that, obviously that's not real. Like, I think everyone can obviously see that.
who thinks that Pizzagate has been debunked.
You asked me when how am I getting additional briefings? That was the first and last time I talked.
So October 9th is the last time you have heard from the FBI at all.
Yes.
You have not got an update on the
I really don't know what the point of showing this is, because he's just talking about, like, we all know that after the hack and the dump and all that, they investigated the emails and then they found nothing.
Investigation to your personal email.
That is correct.
So not only did the mainstream media lie to you about Pizzagate, they actually told you that it was illegal to read John Podesta's emails.
Also not true.
On WikiLeaks. Chris Cuomo, with a straight face, on CNN, looked into the cameras and said, it's illegal for you to read John Podesta's emails.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So
Obviously, he didn't say it was illegal to read them. He said it was illegal to possess them. Like, if you had like a hard drive, like a, you know, a fucking, what do you call it? Flash drive with you know, the emails on them, that would be illegal to possess. It's not illegal to look at them.
everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
That's how scared they are of those emails, and that's how
The most seen fucking emails in the world. They're really trying hard to hide them.
explosive the content in those emails are. That they felt the need that they had to tell you you could not read those emails, and if you do, you might get arrested. Lie.
It's different for the media, so everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
People that blow the whistle on elite pedophiles.
I don't know if you guys have seen my video on Isaac Cappy, but he basically just psychobabble bullshit. I think he definitely had some bipolar mental issues. Alex Jones even called him a fraud. He never gave any proof of anything except he just said it, and because he worked in... Basically the same argument they're making, although they had a little bit better production value in their horse shit.
Tend to have accidents, and a lot of those people...
Like 3 or 4 people watched Isaac Cappy jump off a bridge. They actually tried to stop him. Like 4 teenage kids. So, and maybe they work for the cabal too.
Have died mysteriously.
NBC News has learned that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Epstein took his own life while he was behind.
You know what's crazy about the Epstein stuff is that it actually proves that the cabal isn't real, because we have several witnesses that have came out against Epstein, and not a single one of them have talked about cabals or drinking blood or sacrifice or any of that kind of stuff. It's basically younger girls, 15, 16, and he slept with them, and he's a horrible fucking monster. But it's not that. And we have witnesses that tell us exactly what it is. Virginia Giuffre has told us exactly what happens with Jeffrey Epstein's victims. She, you know, was trafficked to Prince, whatever the fuck his name is, the Prince. You know, she was on the inside, and you know, there's been several others that have come out, and not a single one of them have talked about any of this cabal stuff.
Bars.
There's absolutely no excuse for this. What happened?
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, this guy's real reliable. Imagine if Bill Clinton had been in the spot that he was in with the Borat movie. I bet you they wouldn't fucking take that too lightly like they did the Borat thing.
Here, to me, is mind-boggling. The guy was a high-risk prisoner, wasn't he?
Rudy's mind is
he's a guy
definitely
that there are
boggled.
Probably
That's for sure.
50 very important people that have a motive to kill him. We don't even know who they are. It's true. But we know there are some people that are in a lot of trouble because of Epstein. They know who they are.
His flight logs contain names of some of the biggest, most famous, and most powerful people on the planet.
Including
Members
Donald
of the royal
Trump.
Family.
Prince Andrew, yeah, that's it.
Models
Okay.
like Naomi Campbell, famous actors like Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton on those flight logs over 25 times. Hillary Clinton, she's also been to the islands. So the bigger question...
Again, no proof either Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton especially have ever been to the island. There's 2 witnesses that say that Bill has been there, Virginia Giuffre and the former maintenance man. But again, no proof he's been there. He's totally a creep. But again, no evidence he's been there, especially not Hillary. There's as much evidence Trump's been to the island as there is Bill Clinton. Basically.
The question is, how many people that went on his private jet, that went to his private island, that went to his massive ranch in New Mexico were also...
And again, this does not prove your point about the cabal. This proves that there are evil rich people that think they can get away with whatever they want, which is true, but we're still miles away from child sacrifice. So far, your only evidence to me has been, look at these 18 words over these 6 emails. And Jeffrey Epstein was a bad guy. Oh, and MK Ultra happened, but that's about it.
Also involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children.
It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, no legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
And the amazing thing about Cindy McCain is that her husband was a senator. She was on a...
Again, the reason Jeffrey Epstein was finally hemmed up was because of law changes. That's why he was able to get caught. In 2009, he was originally arrested. So when she talks about that, that's what she's talking about. Everybody knew about Jeffrey Epstein because he had been caught and convicted, and for some reason got a sweetheart deal. Like, definitely, you know, because of Jeffrey Epstein's position and power, he got a sweetheart deal. But, you know, I think you're taking what Miss McCain said there, kind of and turning it the other way. Like, oh, we all knew he was doing it, but we just weren't going to do anything about it. It's like, well, it's not exactly how that went down.
Board with the governor of Texas. She knew about Jeffrey Epstein. She did nothing.
We all knew, though. That's the thing.
The role of her organization is supposed to be to stop people like Jeffrey Epstein. They all knew. They did nothing about it. When Ricky Gervais said at the Golden Globes,
Hollywood is evil and horrible. Listen to this guy from Hollywood.
You're all friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't lying.
So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend. I don't care.
See, that killed. He killed with that line.
You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? Right.
And how many of those elites have been to his islands? Not only is the mainstream media...
Even Scorsese's like, yeah, he's got a point.
I would argue that there are accessories in the crimes against children.
Again, this painting is not known to be anywhere in any Podesta, anyone's house. This is just another painting from the same artist.
She told me everything. She had pictures. She had
this is
everything.
fucked up right here. This is horse
shit. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us.
If you want to know about real corruption in media and how these the heads of these media companies do cover for some of these elite assholes, you should read Ronan Farrow's book Catch and Kill. It really goes into depth about how hard he had to work to get the Harvey Weinstein story. It's a really good read, but you know, of course he leaves out the deep state pedo cabal because it's not real. But this that they didn't run this story is really fucked up.
It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, it was what we had was unreal. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Dum dum
Then what
dum.
happened in early
I don't want to see his
2018?
eye.
Keith Raniere, who ran the NXIVM child sex trafficking
This really doesn't turn out the way they want. Doesn't really fit their narrative. I'll let them talk for a minute though.
cult, was arrested. Who else was arrested? Allison Mack. She's a famous celebrity who was on Smallville.
Yeah, that A-list celebrity Allison Mack that everybody knew about, you know, real high up.
She was also arrested for being a member of this cult that was involved in trafficking children. And not only trafficking children, they were running preschools down in Mexico. And NXIVM is another example of how these elite pedophile rings exist, because this was a massive organization. This was funded by really wealthy people, including the Seagram heiresses, Nancy Salzman.
All right, that's okay. Okay, so we have the ability of hindsight now. This is a little bit older. You know, we've had developments and more stuff has come out about NXIVM, but that is so far off. I mean, this is as bad as the emails almost. The whole NXIVM thing, Keith Raniere, it started out, and that's the thing about the real life when these cults form and when this shit happens. It's not like some all of a sudden everybody's in on it type thing. It forms over years and years. Keith Raniere, he started, you know, this group, this NXIVM group, as a way for like people to improve their lives, and you know, it kind of devolved into this crazy thing. But basically, he started this group, and you know, these people would all like hype each other up, and they would have meetings, and they worked together, and they put together this program and improved on it, and it was like a self-help way to be a more productive person. And that's kind of all it was. But then as it grew and grew, more people got into it, and several women, including these two and Keith Raniere, they kind of started forming like a side project, and I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically like all these women that like kind of gotten in a clique together, and it became a thing where you would have, it was almost like a sorority. You would have like a big sister, little sister, and the person at the top, in order for you to show like loyalty, you would give collateral, and you would like tell them your deepest, darkest secrets. You would like send them your nudes, so that way you would have to be loyal to that person. They called it collateral. And then eventually, like, that got out of hand, and it devolved into, all right, well, now we're going to get branded because we're so involved in this. And then they videotaped the branding, and what the people didn't know at the time was that the brand was actually Keith Raniere's initials. They didn't tell him that. And the lady that they use her interview in this, she talks about all this in the HBO thing about NXIVM. But so, you know, it devolved into branding, and then Keith started sleeping with all of them. And that's where the sex trafficking comes in. Keith Raniere just got put in jail for 120 some years. None of those charges were anything to do with children in Mexico or the school he had in Miami. Absolutely none of that. The trafficking came from him sleeping with women inside of NXIVM. Grown adult women. As far as I know, none of them were underage. But, you know, they basically put him into this cult, got a bunch of collateral on him, got him deeply invested in this thing, and then he started sleeping with them. Like, I think it was something like 20 women, and then one of the former members, she bailed out and she exposed them. So there's nothing, and there was no like satanic rituals or anything. The closest they got was the branding thing, and the way they presented it, you know, it was slowly but surely. It wasn't just like one day like, oh hey, we're getting branded. It was little by little over a couple years, and then bam, before you know it, they're branded and they're sleeping with this guy. It was a whole big crazy mess. There's a great documentary on HBO the lady that they use in this thing talks about all of it. She's like the main character in it. It's pretty interesting, but there was no child sex trafficking from the Mexico schools or the school in Miami. It's just complete horseshit.
And Claire Bronfman. So obviously they were using those preschools to traffic children.
But they weren't. Again, it was a cult, 100%, but it wasn't that kind of cult. Like, what actually happens with cults is they slowly devolve into cults. Usually somebody like Keith, they get mad with power and they just keep wanting more and more and more. And what started out is like some kind of self-help program where they talk about like philosophy and play volleyball ended up with him sleeping with 30 women and fucking branding them. Crazy, but
the cult also engaged in human torture experiments on some of their members, and there actually was a civil lawsuit that was filed by 90 of their victims just the other day. So I imagine we are going to hear more about the human experiments, the torturing.
They did brand them, but there was, outside of that, there was no human experiment. It was a bunch of mental mindfuck horseshit by this guy who was like super smart, but that was it.
Sexual abuse and the child sex trafficking in this civil lawsuit. And a lot of the techniques that we see in this cult are very similar to the techniques that our government used in the MK Ultra program.
Yeah, that's the chick,
with Keith's
the main lady.
And they were like, well, what's the bad thing exactly about that? Everyone in the outside world, aka the real world, is like, they're branding women. So I left. I went to the executive board and I said, I want my photos back. I want my videos back. The branding session was.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about, all the collateral. Like, you would have to, like, she had, I think, Allison. Like, Allison was there was like a section for just women, like a group. And Keith was at the top, he ran it. And then Allison was like his number one. And so she would have to like check in with Allison 12 times a day and call her master. It was real fucking weird. And that's what she's talking about. Like, she had to send her like all this collateral all the time. She's like, yo, you got to prove yourself. It was real fucking weird shit, but not adrenochrome level shit.
It was filmed. I want all of that back. I want my collateral back. None of that happened.
And
we'll never see him again. He's
fear, mind control,
gone.
And you'll be destroyed if you get into the upper elites. And if you get to that point, if you start revealing anything, they have the same system to completely destroy you, destroy your career, blackmail you like Epstein, catch you, film you in compromising positions. And this goes both within Hollywood and celebrities and some of the elite. And it also goes on in Congress and the Senate. And if they even insinuate that they're going to reveal some of these things.
Like, Kanye West, man, I didn't even mean to pause it on that, but yeah, of course people in Hollywood have people like grabbing at them and, don't use Kanye West to back up anything you say.
They're done.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why? Because y'all been lied to.
Lied to.
Google lied to you.
Google. Like, anyway, guys, MK Ultra and Operation Paperclip are taking over the world. Tell them, Yeezus.
Facebook lied to you. Radio lied to you.
The powerful people that be, whether it's the music industry or the movie industry, you are only allowed a certain level of success if you are willing.
There's Katy Perry again.
To join their club. If you're willing to be part of their secret society, or if you're compromised. They will not.
Or if you get verified on Twitter, then they come after you. So don't get verified on Twitter, folks, whatever you do.
Let someone obtain a lot of fame and power if they can't control you.
A classic example, at least for me, is Katy Perry. Katy Perry was a gospel singer, very talented, but she was going nowhere. and she got up to Hollywood and.
Yeah, because she was a fucking gospel singer. I don't know any famous gospel singers at all, especially like this kind of like pop kind of bubblegum Christian Jesus is our Lord type shit. I mean, you don't get famous. She was right place, right time. She made a catchy song about kissing a chick. And yeah, she's not, I mean, not doing much now, though.
They said, you
I guess she's still pretty famous. But
you play by our rules. You step into the occult.
Yeah.
And you start putting that in your videos. And now she's doing videos with her in hell with satanic themes. And she's what? High.
Again, I think she's kind of playing off it because they all think she's in the Illuminati. So maybe she's owning it a little bit.
Really successful. You see that over with Lady Gaga, who came out and actually said she was so tired of being handled and manipulated.
Yeah, because
she had to
people in the
take a
music
break.
industry have a lot of handlers. Is that even Lady Gaga?
That this is this young, outrageous girl wears strange clothes.
Strange clothes.
She's into extremes. She's experimental. She have 43 million people on the Twitter following her, whatever she do.
On the
Little
Twitter.
monsters. And she came really very humble to my house and asked me if I can teach her. We made this workshop in the woods, and she was such a good student. She never cheated. She really went.
Like, I don't, like, they just made an art project together. Obviously, Lady Gaga is a very artsy-fartsy kind of, you know, weird, creative person, and Marina Abramovich is this weird performance artist who does all this kind of different stuff, and you know, they're almost like a match made in heaven. You can see the videos they made. They're on Vimeo. They're odd. I mean, but they're just, you know, they're just kind of weird. It's like something you'd see at like a performance art show or something. You know what I mean?
Much farther than I asked her for.
She is a limitless human being. As myself, a self-proclaimed pop performance artist, want to go home and slit my wrists, and I, you know, I am nothing. I have achieved no sense of art. She is so boundless.
Čuli za performance zbog Lady Gaga, odjednom su počeli da se interesuju za moj rad, tako da je prešla sam iz te, mislim, normalne kulture u mas kulturu, što je...
Marina Abramović, of course, is in the Podesta emails, and she's the one that conducts the spirit cooking.
She's in the Podesta emails. I mean, you saw, that's it. That's the only time, the ones I showed you are the only time she's in the Podesta emails. That's it.
Dinners.
And, like, because of these people, Marina Abramović, she did a piece with the New York Times, I think it was. Maybe it's New York Magazine. But she gets 20 death threats a day now or something like that because of this stuff. Like, she says she's scared to go outside because these people have just, like, ruined her life, basically, because of all this Pizzagate bullshit. So, I hope Liz Crokin knows that because of people like her, this lady who just is into weird art can't even go outside without being scared to death someone's gonna murder her.
She said that Marina did an exercise with her where she stripped her completely naked.
Oh, that's not true, actually. That's Lady Gaga is the one that she wanted to push the limits. Marina even said it a minute ago in this stupid thing. But basically, Marina wanted to, or Lady Gaga is the one that was like, hey, let's do this. No, let's go more extreme. Let's do it. It's not like, you know, Marina Abramović was sitting there with a stick, like, you must do it now.
And left her in the middle of the woods to fend for herself and find her way back. Those are the kinds of things that people who are behind the MKUltra programs do to children that they're mind controlling. We know Marina
It's
Abramović
like they
is a
have to say
Satanist.
MKUltra
You
enough.
Google Marina Abramović's name in spirit cooking, and you will find hundreds of pictures of Marina Abramović's events where they will have, for example, a cake that looks like a human being, and they'll depict human cannibalism, and they claim they're not engaging in cannibalism. And you will find,
I mean, by definition, they're not. It's a cake. It's not an actual human. Cannibalism is when you eat people.
A-list actors and famous politicians and other very famous.
There's that
and
Photoshop
successful,
photo again.
powerful business people at her events. They literally have food that look like human beings on dinner tables.
He's Italian and
I don't know
Greek,
what the
I mean,
point.
you
Like,
know.
this is totally a photo.
very
Like,
good cook.
it's not
And a
an
very good
actual
cook.
photo.
And I'm sure there's something very nefarious
You
about
just-
that risotto
with the
recipe.
Photoshop. There's that again. Like, just by I'm not leaving it on that.
After I
look at
started
that.
researching-
But like, just by that, like that alone should tell you their intentions are not pure. That they keep showing you all this Photoshop shit, and they keep showing you pieces of art that the Podestas don't own. I mean, that should tell you right there that obviously they're trying to bullshit and grift you.
Researching the cult, I learned that Satanists believe that they have to reveal who they are in some way, shape, or form.
I bet.
So that is why we see a lot of these occult members in Hollywood.
This is a music video, I
constantly
believe.
flaunting symbolism. We see the pyramid, the Illuminati pyramid a lot. We see the evil one eye constantly. It's always on the cover of magazines. We see these are supposed to be the 666 devil symbols. We constantly see those symbols. We also see pedophile symbols, the swirl or the triangle within a triangle.
I guarantee this wasn't his purse.
And we also see a lot of these members of the cult go on their social media and they talk about raping children. They talk about worshiping.
By people, they mean James Gunn. They mean James Gunn. They mean one guy who is dumb and likes to make weird jokes that you're taking out of context, and they're stupid, idiotic jokes. But you know,
Satan. And
like before James Gunn was a famous director who got a big lucky break, he made like raunchy comedy stuff. Like he had like these weird comedy skits he did with porn stars where like the guy didn't get it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the girl's trying to like, oh, I want you to fill me up. And he's like, well, I can do that. Like, you know, and they'd fill up her gas tank. Like, that's the kind of shit he did. So he thought he was being like edgy, and it's stupid, but that's it.
People write it off as a joke, but they're not joking.
And this Elijah Wood says Hollywood has a pedophile problem. He made this statement after watching a documentary. He says in this article that he has no first-hand knowledge of this. That's from the very article they are showing that he has no first-hand knowledge. And Corey Feldman made a documentary this year, and he explains in it that it's not the studio heads, it's not the A-list actors that you have to worry about. He says it's the people closest to the kid, as usual, as it is in pretty much all cases of, you know, predators. He said it's the kid's driver, it's, you know, it's the agent sometimes, it's, you know, it's the low-level staff that, you know, preys on these kids. You know, they do make one big accusation in that movie, I think, against Charlie Sheen, but, I mean, other than that, I mean, the people he calls out are, like, drivers and casting agents, and, you know, it's not like, he says in the thing, like, it's not the big name, A-listers or Hollywood execs. He says, at least in his experience.
I don't care if you're a major comedian. You can't tell me that's funny, because there is no joke.
Again, he's not a comedian and
raping
is
children
stupid, yes.
That's funny.
You don't know what that is. I have no idea. You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know.
Okay, late night TV is the most overproduced shit in the world. All this, they probably did like 3 trial runs before they went live. Everything that they talk about on these shows is pre-scripted. You know, a lot of the times with comedians, they'll be working out material. They want the host to ask them a certain way. This is all scripted shit. People who think Jim Carrey just went in here and was like, oh yeah, let me secretly expose the cabal. It's just dumb. I've seen a video of this on TikTok, has like 1 million
Show
likes.
business don't know what this is.
Yeah, see, then, you know, it's a bit.
To put out a film that does this, because no one's done it up until now, but when that's done and people see these facts and they say, my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about the Gulf of Tonkin. I didn't know that about the Vietnam War. My gosh, and they go in and they check it out. And it's
I mean, all you got to do is do a little research. All those things you mentioned have Wikipedia pages.
All true, and now they're seeing the dots. A good film will teach them how to practice critical thinking, to analyze what you're watching. If we can get people to analyze what they're watching, we've crossed a huge hurdle. Because once they
Make sure you guys really analyze your Netflix shows.
start analyzing it, they're going to see the dots, and typically the dots will connect themselves.
Liz Crokin put herself so far out in front that she was mocked.
did.
She was laughed at. She was called crazy.
Still is.
Let me ask you a question. For all those people that did that to Liz,
Okay.
does she seem so crazy now?
When you put
Yes. Yes. 100%.
all of those facts together and you use critical thinking, you realize this stuff is real. There's not one smoking gun. There's many
Pizzagate is real.
smoking guns that you have to piece together.
There's all these little tiny guns, and you gotta put them together, and they make one big gun.
And you have to use
Little baby
critical
guns.
thinking to understand this stuff is real. So again, the bigger question is, now that Jeffrey Epstein's been exposed
Okay.
and he's allegedly dead, how many of his
Wait, allegedly dead? Does she think? Oh, whatever.
friends that were frequent visitors on his sex trafficking island
Sex trafficking
were
island.
also involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children? And that's what Pizzagate is.
No, Pizzagate is just a bullshit conspiracy. Fucking Katy Perry, man.
I guess what I'm asking you all to do is just disconnect for a second, stand
Okay.
back.
I think this guy's gotten higher
songs,
as he's
look
gone.
at the agendas of the movies. Look at the messages of the media that you're absorbing.
Okay.
Because it's impossible to say that all of it's bad, like all of Hollywood's bad. That's not true. It's like saying all of the CIA is bad. There's a lot of good
I
people
could go with
that work
that.
in both industries that aren't bad people.
Yeah, because I'm in that industry, so therefore, I mean, we can't all be bad.
But if the people that control the narratives and the agendas are not good people, and
They aren't
have
all of them.
different agendas,
They're just not
they
what
can
you
put
think
that
they
on
are.
you, and you won't even notice it unless you stand back and look at things objectively.
I can't compromise anymore.
Oh, I forgot about this guy.
And that, for me, that's not what life's about. I want to send a good message to my kids. And I
Okay.
want them to know.
I want my kids to know that there's a deep state cabal of adrenochrome sipping celebrities. I want them to know that. I want them to think about it every day.
But at the end of the day, their dad did what was right. And their dad
Or what
fought
was
for the
crazy.
good
I mean,
things in
you know,
life.
either.
If I could ever
Tomato,
get the
tomato.
opportunity to make movies that send out good messages, and then people start realizing that they can be good, and that there are.
So is he just
they
gonna
can
make
jump
like
on the
God's Not
bandwagon
Dead
of
3 or
good.
something?
That's the next phase. People start believing it. It's the same thing with desensitizing with the violence. People start believing that it's okay to
I can't
kill
believe this
somebody, or
fucking thing.
watching somebody die isn't a big deal. You start when people aren't helping other people
mean,
in
if
need
you-
on the
it's
streets.
not,
There's a problem
though.
in this world. But this could.
I mean, it
this
is in
could
real
all be
life.
changed right now. The reason why I'm doing this documentary is because I want to be one of the first people to come out and say, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. We are good people. Humans are good, and we can make the world a better place.
I don't know. Jury's
Because
out on
the-
that humans are
the
good
money
thing.
and the technology to make this world a better place is there. It's just been covered up and controlled for so
I want to
long
know who is he talking to?
that it's time for it all to come out. And maybe I'm
Again, just what happened to the pelvic floor therapist? She had the only bombshell in the whole fucking documentary. What happened to the pelvic floor therapist? The QAnon anonymous guys think that the pelvic floor therapist might be Liz Crokin. You know, maybe she's pulling double duty there.
the catalyst for something better.
What does the media look like in the future? Well, to me,
Fucked.
what I would hope is that it's not filtered.
Yeah.
I would love to build a platform
Yeah, I
or
bet.
build some sort of system where artists could connect directly to their audience. I want to make products.
It's called YouTube, my guy.
and tell stories that bring
Or
humanity
Substack.
together.
Guess that's that
bring
too.
Compassion, that bring love, that bring forgiveness, that bring
Oh, fucking please.
inspiration and courage back to the audience without having.
Don't you just feel so encouraged after watching this? This just encourages the shit out of me.
The influence of violence or gratuitous sex or gratuitous death or gratuitous horror.
What's wrong with gratuitous sex?
Because those are things and images that get stored in our psyche and our soul, and I don't think that's the way that this earth was intended to be.
I don't know, man. The truth is learned, never told. And that's it. Dun dun dun. Fucking A, boys and girls, we made it. We fucking made it. Alright, let me switch this thing. Man, so yeah, that was that. Jesus Christ almighty. I don't know about you guys, but I feel a little more satisfied now that we've been able to run through this whole thing. Oh, we're on camera. I'm over here now. But yeah, so that's that whole thing. And I'm going to be putting a bunch of links in the description of this video once I get done and upload it. I'll be cutting it into smaller segments, probably tomorrow, the next day sometime. Yeah, so I don't know, any questions, anything? I know I didn't look at chat much. I was kind of in the zone trying to remember all this shit off the top of the dome. I mean, probably could have done a more thorough job if I would have edited an entire video and kind of broke it down. But man, that would have took a long time. And I've been fighting with YouTube on my Fall of the Cabal series, and they took that shit down and gave me a strike. So I didn't want to do all that and then just have the video taken down, you know what I mean? Yeah, I lost brain cells too, my dude. I've had to watch it a couple times, and it's like, fuck. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that video got 25 million views before it got taken down, and God knows how many views it's gotten since then. What's your email contact? I don't use social media much. It's just go to the community. Just go over to the about section on my YouTube page. You'll see it right there. It's Driven Progressive 1987 or something, but you'll see it. Just go to my about section. You'll see it. So did he make this film to try and sell a new media platform? I think he just made it to try to make a name for himself in the conspiracy community, honestly. I think I think these people realize that the conspiracy community is a thriving business. I mean, if you go to his website, he's got merch, he's got the video, he's fully pilled. We can look at, I mean, yeah, we'll do that real quick. Hold on. No. I mean, he is fully pilled. This is his Twitter page. And you can see he's got outofshadows.org, got Out of Shadows merch store. He's got, MAGA, QAnon, Where We Go One, We Go All hashtags. He's got all this bullshit, the last couple days. It's bullshit here. Sidney Powell, that's their new hero. All that stuff. Alright, let me go back to the other screen. Fuck that. But yeah. Alright, let's back to that. There we go. Let's see what else we got here. Q has built an interesting economy on... Yeah, exactly. Q has built an entire economy based off BS information. It's all about the merch, most definitely. Thanks for this. Help me understand why a lot of my dad's BS videos behavior, particularly his obsession with Yeah, no, they that's what they do. They drill into these people's heads that finding symbols is like how you spot the occult, and you know, they got to reveal themselves. That's a big thing to these people. And so that's why they'll show you like, "Oh, look at this shape. Look at the shape of this." And it's like, well, there's only so many shapes shit can be, my guy. You know, maybe some hard evidence, that would be nice. It's a grift, just like Shapiro and Rubin. Exactly, Paul. It's just another grift, and it's a very lucrative grift right now. Back in 2015, 2016, when Shapiro and Rubin got big, it was a big grift to call everyone a snowflake and talk shit about SJWs, and that's how them guys got big. Now people like this are getting 25 million views on a shit video that just talks about symbols and MK Ultra. Yeah, I did a video about Shapiro's comments about the manly men shit. He's such a dipshit. I was brought up to believe certain numbers are good or bad. I've spent my early adulthood fighting my aversion to neutral things like numbers. Yeah, I mean, people have lucky numbers and shit. I mean, that's one thing. If you're like, oh, you know, I have like, you know, I wanted to wear 14 when I played basketball because that was my dad's number. I was like picky about that, but you know, as long as you don't take it too far, I mean, it's not a big deal. I doubt it's affecting your life. Yeah, no problem, Landon. Like I said, I'll be putting all the sources in the description later. Do you think anti-vaxxers will take over the Q team? I mean, they're already there. There's plenty of anti-vaxxers in the QAnon space. I mean, in kind of the new age health community, they're getting taken over by QAnon people and anti-vaxxers. I thought about doing a short video on it. Like, it's a bad problem, especially with like the Instagram influencer space. They've basically taken over, and like the people that aren't Q-pilled are trying to push them out, but it's becoming harder and harder. I'm watching your TikToks. What do you think of the less conspiratorial misinformation pushers like Tyler Bluntman, Ben Crowder? I love how you put well, I have a video on Candace Owens. She's just a garbage misinformation machine, and she's backed by, you know, the Koch brothers, the Wilkes brothers, and they just push you know, anti-LGBT, you know, progressive policy, bullshit propaganda, and it's bad for the country. You know, right now, Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro are bitching about Harry Styles wearing a dress when we have actual breadlines in Texas where the COVID numbers are spiking out of control. 70% of Republicans don't believe we had a free and fair election, and you're bitching about a pop singer wearing a dress. It's just really stupid. And, you know, especially Candace Owens, she pushes every conspiracy under the sun, and it's just a total grift, because even after Trump got elected, or as Trump was running, she had a website that pushed anti-Trump articles. It's just, you know, it's a total grift. And then she went away for 6 months, came back, and she's some ultra conservative. You know, it was just, she also cashed in at a time when calling everybody an SJW was cool and hip. Yeah, Candace Owens definitely a proud propagandist. Yeah, the anti-maskers are all the 666 numbers. Would be great. Candace Owens determined society. Before I go, while I still got most of y'all here, not tomorrow night, but Friday night, I'm going to be hosting a debate. I'm sure a lot of you guys are on TikTok too. I'm going to be hosting a debate between my dude from TikTok and Uncle Dan from TikTok. That'll be at, I think, 7 o'clock Central. We're not exactly 100% sure on the time, but I'll let you know. But that'll be Friday night at 7 o'clock. I'll be hosting that. And then I'm pretty sure, I don't know if any of you guys know the YouTube channel Remix Everything. He makes like QAnon conspiracy. He talks about that kind of stuff, you know, about QAnon, and he makes like these 40-minute like little mini movies about like QAnon and different cult and conspiracy stuff. I don't know if you got, well, if he's gonna be, I'm gonna have an interview with him on my stream, probably on the 4th of December, but that's a whiles away. But yeah, the debate with my dude and Uncle Dan is Friday, probably 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, you know, all that jazz. Yeah, no, I think it was a good stream. Hopefully it'll be helpful. I know, like, I really hate that two of my Fall of the Cabal videos got taken down. So yeah, I put this stuff out. Like, I'm not going to be able to, I know some of you guys got, like, family members and stuff that are super Q-pilled. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it, but hopefully you guys can take some of the information that I put out and, like, explain to your family members or something, like, hey, you guys are batshit, and you should maybe, not follow this stuff anymore. You know, it's just crazy. Like, my biggest fear right now is that we're gonna lose even more people to this QAnon shit, because I don't think it's going anywhere. Even as Trump gets out of office, you know, I think it's very possible it could just get worse. You can DM me on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. But I mean, if you just want to email me, which I read all my emails, if you just want to email me, go to my About section on my YouTube page, and my email's there. You can email me from there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get off, y'all. I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out. I noticed that the stream number didn't really fluctuate too much. So that means a lot of y'all stayed around the entire time, which is super fucking awesome for a 3-hour stream. But if you could like the stream before you go, subscribe, maybe follow me on Twitch if you're not following me over there. Because eventually I'd like to just do lives over there, because I really like their platform better. But as far as live streaming goes. But yeah, if you like the stream, maybe leave a comment, something like that, you know, once it's over. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully this helps. I'll be uploading all the links after I get off here, and once the video processes. Friday night, debate, 4th, all that stuff. More videos to come. Peace out. Thanks a lot, guys. And we are